It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Leo Laporte. In just a little bit, Scott Wilkinson will help us get our voice to match our mouth.
I'm Micah Sargent, and we answer a listener question about optimized battery versus that 80% limit on your iPhone.
Then it's a tip from travel guru Johnny Jet, the one thing you should do to your iPad the next time you fly. It's all coming up next on Ask the Tech Guy.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Ask the Tech Guys with Micah Sargent and Leo Laporte. Episode 1994, recorded Sunday, October 1st, 2023. Now cash-free. Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by FastMail. Reclaim your privacy, boost productivity, and make email yours with FastMail. Try it now, free for 30 days at fastmail.com/twit. And by Mylio. Mylio Photos is a smart and powerful system that lets you easily organize, edit, and manage years of important documents, photos, and videos in an offline library, hosted on any device. And it's free. Don't wait. Visit Mylio, mylio.com/twit. Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club Twit. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, plus membership in the Club Twit Discord, a great clubhouse for Twit listeners. And finally, the Twit Plus feed with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks for your support. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here.
And Micah Sargent here.
Micah, is that shirt an optical illusion?
If you stare long enough, yes.
I see Nixon's face in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe that's just me.
Might be just you. Now, there's another optical illusion.
Look at those snocks.
If you stare long enough, you can see my dogs, Mizzy
Henri
and Henry.
Mizzy.
Yeah, here on my socks.
Oh, aren't they cute?
Yeah, this was a Christmas gift. And they're
when I
delightful.
visited my sister, she has a Chihuahua, the sweetest Chihuahua.
The adorable Chihuahua.
I mean, his real name is Chippy, but it's because he looks like he's a blueberry muffin. He's got blueberry muffin eyes.
So cute.
Very cute. Hello, everybody. This is the show where you answer your tech questions in person live. Mm-hmm. The phone number, if you want to call in, is 888-724-2884.
Yeah, if you call that number live during the show, we'll answer it, maybe.
Sundays, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern.
But if you call during the week, whenever we're not doing the show live, you will be able to leave a voicemail and have your question answered on the air. So it's also an opportunity. That number is always open, 888-724-2884. You can also head to call.twit.tv. We suggest doing it on your phone. If you head there while you're on your phone, it'll pop open a little prompt for you to open up Zoom, and there you can connect with audio and video right from your phone and be able to ask your question live on air and appear here between us in the Ask the Tech Guys Stargate, as it were.
Thank you so much for filling in for me on Mac Break Weekly. And did you do
Windows
Weekly? Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks to Jason Howell filled in on the other shows so that I could be in Green Bay, Wisconsin with our 20-year-old son who's about to turn 21, his 21st birthday gift from his mom. A visit to the Green Bay Packers. And we saw
fun.
Thursday Night Football. Thanks to Brad, by the way, who let us get into the TNF truck, the Amazon trucks, I should say, 9 of them. What a thing to see.
So many screens.
So many.
So many buttons.
Yeah, and he said, in the early days, I would have like one little OLED screen to make sure the shading and grading's fine. He says, everything here is highly calibrated OLED. Looks beautiful. It really looked good in there. So thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Thanks to Alex Lindsay, who hooked us up, as they say. But I'm reading, and there's lots going on. This was a busy week.
It was a busy week, and I was hoping I could actually start with an update from last week. You may remember that on last week's show, you and I talked a little bit about the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the iPhone 15, and we had a conversation about how the tech blogosphere tends to work, where sometimes There are viral videos.
Here's our thumbnail for the show.
Yeah,
Get
exactly.
a picture of me.
If he bends the phone bends.
So Jerry rigs everything, broke it.
Broke the iPhone.
Broke the back.
And then there
By
was...
bending it.
By doing everything that you can do to break it. Consumer Reports, which does standardized tests.
Testing.
Yeah, actual legitimate testing, did their standardized tests and found that the phone is incredibly structurally sound and is at least as good as the phones we've had thus far.
Well, dopes, you're not going to get any YouTube views that way.
What? How could you? No one's going to go watch this. There's nothing to watch.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever noticed any overheating on your new iPhone 15 Pro Max?
So I didn't.
Nor did I.
Yeah.
I asked Lisa. She says, well, sometimes it gets a little warm, but no, not hot.
Yeah, I never had the hot issue, and I do use Instagram. So this, of course, is another thing that was kind of going by, that the iPhone was heating up, that we actually talked about this on MacBreak Weekly, and it turns out that there does seem to be
Apple's admitting it.
Yeah, Apple is saying that there's some level of overheating that's taking place depending on the apps that you're using.
They say it's the app's fault and a bug.
Yeah.
So they're going to push out an iOS 17 fix that will fix the heating issue. My concern whenever I hear that is, they're going to slow the phone down so it doesn't overheat. It's fine. It hasn't overheated for me. I don't want them to slow it down. But anyway, I use Instagram, but not a lot. Lisa uses it all the time. She says it doesn't get hot.
Yeah, I didn't have the issue. Instagram, Uber, and a few other third-party apps were all the ones that were having this problem. Those are getting updates if they haven't already received an update.
She says it also gets a little hot when she's charging, sometimes fast charging. But I always expect that.
I was going to say that
when you
seems
plug
normal.
it in and it's charging as fast as as its little feet can run, of course it's going to get a little warm.
Yeah, that's typical. Yeah. I would expect the heat then. But
people are claiming though like 130 degrees, which would be like it would hurt.
Yeah, there were some measurements done.
Yeah.
If you've had that problems, be on the lookout for an update, and make sure too, we talked about this, that you update to 17.0.2 as that has corrections for some zero days vulnerabilities.
Very serious. Get those. In fact, it wouldn't let you install the iPhone.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't finish the process without it.
Yeah. What else is new? Let's see. There was a lot of stuff. Let's see. What should we talk about? I have a list here.
Apple search engine? Want to talk about that?
Yeah, Mark Gurman at Bloomberg kind of started a little speculation saying Apple was kind of thinking about doing its own search engine. I think that would be smart for them to do it. I think if they were serious about it, though, they would have bought Neva.
Yeah.
When it was for sale, or maybe they'll buy another. They did buy one kind of sort of search engine company, but I think they're not that serious about it, to be honest.
Yeah, they have their own internal engine for doing search tied to Spotlight and tied to a few other systems within iOS and macOS. And so to see that, it's got a name and everything. I think it's Pegasus. I don't recall.
Yes,
but
you're right.
That engine could be sort of built upon to become something more. However, as that piece points out, switching away from Google would actually hurt Apple too, because that deal is very lucrative for them. So it would have to really balance out that they could sell ads against it, that it would be robust enough that people would use it. And I think importantly, there was a conversation about how because Google right now is in the midst of a monopoly discussion with the government, and Eddie Q testified that Apple was not working on a competitor in that space. So that isn't. What do we do in the case that Eddie Q says, "Hey, we're not working on something"?
I think they're not, to be honest. And frankly, considering how crappy Apple's search is on the App Store, I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I don't think that's their area of expertise. Now, they did hire John Gianandrea from Google. He's running their AI division. There is some search in that. He has some expertise in search, so maybe. My favorite story of the week, though, was the CEO of Twitter, Linda Yaccarino, at the Code Conference, gave a little interview with Julia Boorstin of CNBC. First of all, she was already off-put because right before her interview, they interviewed Yoel Roth, the head of Twitter safety, who was fired and then doxxed by Elon Musk, who sicked his sycophants. Now we know why they're called sycophants, because you sick them on poor Yoel, and it was a nasty, nasty scene. So she was upset that they talked to Yoel at all. So she was off put at the beginning, and then she's like trying to defend and said, no, we're going to be profitable next year, darn it, and stuff like that. And at one point, she holds up her iPhone. That might have been a little bit of a mistake. She's holding up her iPhone, and people said, well, wait a minute, let's look at her screen. There's Instagram on there. There's Facebook on there. There ain't no X on her iPhone. Not on the front page, anyway. So you got to wonder, does she use this thing? I mean, she's selling?
The previous CEO didn't have, it was like following 4 people or something. I don't know. This didn't surprise me too much, because the person in charge of the company, the people in charge of the company ever since we had Jack, just don't seem to have the same interest in the product.
I know how that is. I don't listen to podcasts. So it's kind of that way.
Once you know how the sausage is made.
When you're in the business.
Yeah.
I listen to your podcasts. You're wonderful.
It's okay.
You're good. It is a little weird that anyway, I thought that it's an interesting and contentious interview.
You should have seen the community notes on it. Because so for folks who don't know, on X, formerly known as Twitter, people can sort of fact check things. There's a whole community of fact checkers, and they're called community notes now. And the community notes on there were over and over and over again. We don't know for sure that this is the front page of her iPhone. We don't know. It was just like everybody tried. Yeah, it was silly. The whole thing, I think, is silly. It's just silly.
It's all silly. And I don't want to even talk about Elon Musk ever again.
Good.
So there.
What about Quest 3?
That's interesting. Did you see, and I hope you get a chance to see, Lex Friedman's interview with Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, in which the entire interview is done in the Quest 3, the new VR nerd helmet, and using this new technology that Facebook is rolling out, called Avatar Codex, where they scan, we don't know how much, they haven't really revealed it, but they take somebody like Snoop Dogg, who's one of them, or Mr. Beast, and they scan them and get them to do a lot of different face expressions. I don't know how long that takes, but at some point they have a representation of Snoop Dogg in the machine, and now he can be a character.
Oh.
And so he's going to be a character in many of Meta's products, so that you could talk to him. He's not called Snoop Dogg. They give each of them their own name. The number of celebrities agreed to this. But what was interesting is to watch Lex Friedman, who also had this process done to him, talk to Mark Zuckerberg, who's also in this black space where it's really uncannily good. And I thought that this is going to be very interesting. This is a new use of AI. There you go. There's Lex. Now, that's not him. That's an image of him generated
that's
merely
creepy.
from the cameras of the Oculus 3.
Oh.
It's a little uncanny valley, but not horribly so. And it has all the expressions you
That's very impressive.
Yeah. So it's not Kodak avatars, it's Codec, C-O-D-E-C avatars. So the lower thirds, the
captions are
not quite accurate. But look at them together. And so this is what's interesting. They're not in front of cameras at all. This is simply with the cameras built in to
there it
is. Built into this device. I think Apple with its Vision Pros will probably be capable of something very similar. So I'm an AI skeptic, but I think there are some uses of AI that are going to be very interesting, and that's one of them where you can. And frankly, I guess the main reason I'm interested in it is I want to retire.
Yeah.
And
so
or no,
Leo.
But we've always, when we do the roundtable shows and people are inside of a screen, we've always, since 2004, wanted to put them sitting at the table.
Right.
And I think that those days are not so far off.
With the way that looked, absolutely those days are not far
Imagine, I mean, maybe I'm live, but Andy Iannaco's sitting next to me, but he's generated.
Yeah.
Why not? I think we're very close to that. So that's kind of, to me, kind of interesting. 888, I'm not going to do that. 888-724-2884 is the number. I think we can take some calls in just a little bit.
All right.
But first, we should talk about the people who make this show possible. And of course, I am talking about our Club Twit members, but not just our Club Twit members, also our great sponsors. Today's show brought to you by My Email Solution for everybody. You've heard me say this many, many times. If email is important to you, why are you using free email, especially for your business, but even as an individual? For the last decade, I've been using FastMail. It is the best email solution, bar none. Now, yeah, it's not free. It's as little as $3 a month. But because you're paying them, you're the customer. If you're using free email, you're not the customer. As you know, you're the product. FastMail, no ads. They don't give over any of your information to data brokers or anyone else. Your data is private. Your emails are secure. And FastMail does it right in every respect. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with the software. You can use FastMail with any email program you're currently using. That's fine. But they also have a very nice webmail interface. I far prefer it to Gmail. They also have apps. In fact, I use the iOS app over the Apple Mail app. It's got everything I want, including calendars and address books, contacts, and notes. I no longer sync with the Google Cloud or Apple or anybody else. I sync all of my data to FastMail. I trust FastMail. That's part of the service. It is included in the service, and it's fantastic. The apps are great, too. They have quick settings, so you could choose new themes, switch between dark and light mode, change your text size, all without leaving the screen you're looking at, which is very nice. They allow you to generate masked email addresses, which means you can, whenever you sign up for something, not use your real email address, but using one of our other sponsors, Bitwarden or 1Password, a variety of services, you can generate a masked email, which is unique to that site. Now, the email still goes to your FastMail inbox, but only that site uses that email. There's two great reasons. One, hackers can't guess your email, which is a big problem, right? They know your email. All they have to do is guess your password. With this, they'd have to guess both. But also, you can always see if your stuff's being sold, because that's the unique email just for that account. So the masked email is fantastic. You can auto-save contacts. I do that because FastMail has incredible spam filtering, very powerful, the most powerful I've ever used, and scripting with a tool called Sieve, an open source tool called Sieve, which lets me do things like if somebody's in my contact list, put them in a special email box because I know them, right? So if you auto-save your contacts, anytime you reply to somebody, that's saved to your contacts, then that automatically has their mail go to the important inbox. Little things like that mean your workflow is 100 times better. I just love FastMail. I use it for calendars, contacts, and email, and notes. You can now add or buy a domain at FastMail. I have all my domains. The DNS is hosted by FastMail. Why? Because that means I have an email address. In fact, an infinite number of email addresses at all those domains, which is, I think you'll figure out, very useful in a variety of ways. Plus, the domain for your email is your company's name or your family name or the name you want. For over 20 years, FastMail's been a leader in email privacy. They use the open source Cyrus IMAP server, contribute back to it. As little as $3 a month, you're going to get no ads, better spam filters, superior privacy. Oh, and I forgot the most important thing, real customer support from real people. FastMail. Be easy to move from your old email right into FastMail. You continue to have your old email address forward to FastMail if you want. It is the email provider. Just ask your geek friends what they use. FastMail. Reclaim your privacy, boost productivity for as little as $3 a month with FastMail. Try it now. Actually, it's free for the first 30 days at fastmail.com/twit. Please use that address so that they know you saw it here. Fastmail.com/twit. I've been using this for 10 years. I've been plugging it for 10 years. I finally got them to buy some ads. Thank you, FastMail. Fastmail.com/twit. Let's get to our first call of the day.
Let's do it.
Who should it be? John Ashley, producer man.
I think Ivan would be a good one to pick up.
Well, you can pick him up. He's calling from Brisbane, which I understand is just down the peninsula here in Northern California. No, you mean Brisbane, Australia?
Yes.
Wow. Hi, Ivan. I've been to Brisbane.
Have you?
I have. Doesn't really make any difference, but I just wanted to say that. Hello, Ivan. Oh, do I need to do this?
No. We did it.
You thought I was going to do it, but John, you're now in charge of everything.
Are you sure? You sure you want that?
I do want that.
We're waiting for Ivan to join the room. So Ivan has been prompted to switch to the on-air room. Ivan needs to say, yes, I want to switch to the on-air room.
He has to say, "Good day, mate."
And now he won't join.
That'll stop him cold.
Oh, here we go.
That was Leo's bad Australian. That made him mad enough to get in there. Hey, Ivan, welcome. Press *6 to unmute and join us in the Stargates. Hey, there he is. Ivan.
Hi, guys. Hi, Micah. How you doing?
We're great. What's up in Brisbane? Where it must be the middle of the night. Oh.
It is. It's 4:36 a.m.
Holy cow.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
That's dedication.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you, Ivan.
That's okay. I was actually going back to 2015. I was your rep here in Brisbane for your New Year's Eve special.
Oh, that's
Leo.
awesome. I do remember that.
Wow.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that. We had a 24-hour New Year's Eve party that we had every time zone, and we had listeners call from every time zone.
Wow.
Including Brisbane. Well, that's wonderful. Welcome.
I've got I seem to have a conflict between my Pixel Watch, my Pixel 6 Pro, and my Android Auto head unit.
Uh-oh.
I've got them all connected, but at the moment, whenever I plug the phone in when I get into the car, the head unit freezes.
So you say you plug the phone in. Let me ask you a question. You're using Android Auto?
Yes.
So when you plug the phone in, what's supposed to happen is the phone's supposed to say, "Oh, hi, car. Let's be in Android Auto together." Have you checked your Android Auto settings in the Android settings?
Yes. And it will work, and it works fine. It might work fine for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
And then it
but then the screen just freezes.
Yeah.
And I have to unplug it and then plug it back in. And I'm doing that continually.
Oh, that's not good.
I've sort of isolated the problem that it seems to be a conflict with the watch. So if I turn the watch off or I disconnect the Bluetooth from the watch to the phone, it works absolutely perfectly.
Whoa.
There's no issue.
Okay. So that sounds like a Bluetooth handoff issue. So the way CarPlay works is kind of interesting. You do have to have your phone paired with Bluetooth to the car, but it is using Wi-Fi. So the car, in effect, becomes a Wi-Fi access point that the phone joins. But I suspect if you've got two Bluetooth devices paired to your car, it might be getting confused by the watch and shifting away from the Bluetooth connection on the phone, something like that.
Which is then causing a bug.
The watch is not paired to the car.
The watch is connected to the car. The watch is connected to the phone.
Wow. All right. Let's see. Christy in our IRC doesn't have anything.
No, but Lunchbox
useful.
Steve in our Discord says that their Dodge had the same issue.
Yeah, I think it's car related.
And
maybe.
an update for the vehicle itself fixed it. Is this a aftermarket installation, or is it the one that came with the vehicle?
No, it's an aftermarket. It's a Kenwood unit.
Okay, and you have the latest firmware.
So what you need to do is check with Kenwood, and I think that's the case. I've seen this happen many times with older cars. You know, you'll get an iOS update, and suddenly CarPlay stops working, or you get an Android update. You're on Android 13?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's hanging, and it's interesting that it's hanging. I think you're right. Now, of course, the watch isn't paired to the head unit. The watch is paired to the phone. So it could be that the phone, I don't know what's
this is a tough one. It's almost like, so yes, we know that the software and the interface is actually coming from the phone, not from the head unit itself, right? And so you plug it in and your phone projects this interface into your head unit. And so something is happening where when the phone gets a little message from the watch to, hey, talk to me, then it is causing that projection to freeze on that aftermarket head unit. So this is frustrating because Clearly, it's just some sort of a bug where obviously if the watch is not connected, then it works fine. But that's not an ideal world where you don't have your watch connected. Unfortunately, the only thing that the solution that we have would be to make sure everything's updated. Some are suggesting, if you haven't done this already, forget the watch pairing in your phone. And,
you could always start over. That's a pain in the butt. Yeah.
Over. It is a pain in the butt. But
I did repair it. I repaired it last night.
Okay.
Start from scratch. It's still the same issue. Whenever you connect the watch to the car, you hear it vibrate on my wrist as it's connecting, and then when it freezes, if you look at the watch, if there was music playing, it's still actually playing, but you can't hear it. The remote control is still showing as the music's playing on my watch.
Is it a Pixel watch or which watch is it? Pixel or Samsung?
Watch.
Pixel watch. Okay.
Pixel.
And you're running Android 13, and you're running what kind of phone?
Pixel 6.
Pixel 6. So it's all Pixel.
Pro. Yeah.
It's an interest. It's a conundrum. My gut would be to at least check with Kenwood and see if they know there's a problem. The watch is fairly new. The phone's not, but the watch is a fairly new device, and there may be some issue that they know about with the watch.
Do you always plug in to use Android Auto? You don't ever do a wireless version of it?
I don't have, it's wireless compatible.
Okay, so here's a suggestion that someone had that I think could be a good one to try. We talked about how Bluetooth does that initial pairing, but now that you've got that pairing going on between the phone and the head unit, you might consider going into the Kenwood device and disabling the Bluetooth radio, turn off Bluetooth pairing, and then see if after the Bluetooth pairing has been disabled, you can still plug in your phone, still get Android Auto working. And if at that point, there's no sort of mixed messages between the three devices, but instead it's just the phone that has that wired connection to the head unit alone. Does that make sense?
Yep, sure. Okay.
I'm also looking at
Try that as well.
a Reddit thread here in the Android Auto subreddit. Android Auto constantly disconnecting. This guy says, I got a better cable, one with a higher transfer rate. And then somebody points out, well, I don't know why that would have fixed it because your head unit's probably USB 2.0. I would look at what the Kenwood bandwidth, what kind of USB is on the Kenwood bandwidth, and make sure you do make sure you choose a good cable with that.
Yep.
It's interesting that the watch is impacting this. I mean, that's why I'm looking at Bluetooth. But
as I said, if I turn the watch off or I unpair the watch,
isn't that interesting?
The screen
it just never it's a problem. Yeah.
No.
And it's got to be Bluetooth, right? It's got to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
maybe it's the phone getting confused between where it's casting to, that at some point it's saying, oh, I'm not casting to the Kenwood, I'm casting to the watch. But wait a minute, you can't cast to the watch. Oh, I give up. I feel like that if the watch is the determining factor, the only way the watch and the phone know about each other is via Bluetooth. Mm-hmm. The Kenwood does not know about the watch.
Right.
So it has to be some odd interaction that's happening at the phone level between the watch and the watch doesn't do Android Auto, but the watch is Bluetooth. What could we do to fix this, though, is the problem. I have to say, one of the things that I see a lot on Reddit is problems with Android Auto.
Yeah.
And problems, frankly, with CarPlay, too, but Android Auto in particular. And I think part of that is because there's so many different phones, so many different versions of Android, so many different head ends. And now you're throwing in a Pixel watch, which the head end has never heard of. The phone is somehow, I mean, obviously, you don't want to not have your watch paired to your phone.
No, that's right. I mean, I can't be unpairing or Bluetooth on and off every time I hop in and out of the car.
Exactly, yeah. So I think let's try that suggestion I had for you and see if that will potentially fix the problem. It's not an elegant solution, which is unfortunate. But what's good about this show is that we will then hear from other folks who've had the same issue or similar issues, and
Here's
someone
one.
may have the solution.
Pixel Watch preventing Bluetooth connection with my car and Android Auto.
Oh?
This is in the Google Pixel Watch help. Since getting my Pixel Watch, I've been unable to connect my phone, a Pixel 6. Is this you? System via Bluetooth. It cannot connect, but it's completely deleting my car from my saved Bluetooth devices on my phone. It sounds like this is a good example of I've seen, and then the recommended answer from a gold product expert is I've seen reports in the past that Wear OS could interfere with a phone connecting to some car stereos. The solution in these cases was to go into the phone's Bluetooth settings and disable the phone calls profile for the watch. Disable the phone calls profile for the watch.
Huh.
So you can take phone calls on your Pixel Watch, but if you, at least it's worth a try. The phone would then go back to connecting to the car without a fight. Might be worth trying it. Some other answers.
So where is that changing the settings? On which?
The phone's Bluetooth settings. So apparently there'll be I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. A phone calls profile for the watch if you disable that. Somebody else says, just put the watch in airplane mode when you're driving. But you don't want that, I know.
Settings, connected devices, tap on your watch and disable the phone calls option. That's the phone calls profile.
So another person says, same problem, even with the 2023 update to both the Pixel 6 and the watch. Google told me to close my Bluetooth and LTE when in the car.
That's so silly. That can't be a solution.
That's Google's solution. Obviously, we know that works because you've done it, but that's obviously not the right answer. And then Google did respond and saying, we're checking on this. This was in January, though, of this year. Here's another guy saying, I finally found the answer to my problem that not even Google could find. I called Google. They told me to power off my watch every time I use the car in the car. The problem was with Ford Sync, my first dealer fixed it. So that's me thinking, now obviously you don't have Ford Sync, thinking that the Kenwood might have some fix for it as well.
Some firmware.
Try turning, at least that's the one thing we've been able to find. Turn off that watch profile in the settings on your phone. See if that helps. I don't think it's the Kenwood now that I really think about it. It really sounds like an interaction between the phone and the watch.
Exactly. And Google's solution, just don't use your watch while you're in the car. That is ridiculous.
You could set up a rule in your, you have how you have your driving settings when you get in the car and it pairs. It goes, oh, okay. And one of those rules could be turn off the Bluetooth.
That's true.
On the watch. But these are all not ideal, but at least some workarounds you might want to try. I'm glad you stayed up so late for this useless answer.
I wish we had a better one for you. I wish there was a button we could invent for you.
But we're really glad you called.
Yeah, thank you.
And I appreciate it, and I look forward to getting back to Brisbane soon. And thank you for helping us with the New Year's Eve show all those 8 years ago. That was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was great. We got the Sydney Harbor. You're in the same time zone as Sydney, right?
Well, they just went into daylight saving yesterday. We don't acknowledge daylight saving.
Good for you.
Good, smart move. But you're in Queensland, so I wonder. Okay. So that means they did celebrate their New Year's at a different hour than you do in Brisbane.
That's right. They went an hour before.
Okay, so we had somebody in Sydney with the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and then we would go to Brisbane and see what's going on there. What do you do on New Year's Eve in Brisbane?
Well, have a party like everyone else, I guess.
Hang out, drink some beer, enjoy the evening. Hey, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for calling in. I'm sorry we weren't much help, but I feel like we're getting there somewhere with this profile. Mm-hmm. With this profile.
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Yeah.
Bluetooth profiles, it kind of reminds me of printer protocols. There are the manufacturers just put every single one on the device, and then it's up to so many different people who are putting their, that are all trying to play a game. They all get to choose. Okay, this one's on, this one's off, this one's sort of works.
Bluetooth is a nightmare.
Bluetooth is a nightmare.
Quippy in our Discord says, my Bluetooth switches from my Garmin GPS device to my Samsung watch to my car randomly. Now, admittedly, this is CarPlay or Android Auto, not Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth does establish the connection. So during that switch, CarPlay could quite reasonably say, oh, wait a minute, now I'm CarPlaying the watch. And then also, Derecho in our Discord says, Bluetooth profile conflicts are a real problem in general, even if you aren't battling it out with an Android watch. So I think we've kind of narrowed it down anyway for you. Have a great day. Have a great morning.
Yes.
Get some coffee.
Gentlemen.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Oh, it's so nice to hear from our friends all over the world. I was thinking the other day, I've had a national radio show and a national TV show, but podcasts are global.
It is.
We're everywhere, baby. Anyone who wants to listen to us anywhere in the world. There's a new technology, speaking of AI, that I'm very interested in. Spotify announced this week that they are going to take a handful of podcasts and translate them into other languages, but using the voice of the podcaster. So, and you've seen demos. I don't know if you've seen demos of this.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Mike is speaking Spanish. And we're so excited about that. I promise you, the minute that Spotify makes that generally available or invites us to participate, we will make, I think, at least a Spanish language version of these shows. I think that there's a big audience there.
That's magnificent.
I would love to do that. Yeah. Really cool. All right. John Ashley, pick up another caller, or should I do email?
Let's do an email.
Do you do an email?
Yeah, I wonder why I'm
he's up
pushing
to
for an
no
email.
good. I can tell when I hear that.
Let's do an email.
Let's do an email.
It's a little bit
Maybe there's
Irish.
something in the email that's worth looking at.
Uh-oh, it's printed upside down.
Again. iPhone 15 charging optimization.
Okay.
This is from Dave in Medina, Ohio. I just received my new iPhone 15 Max Pro Max. I'd like to hear the pros and cons using optimized battery charging versus the 80% limit under the charging optimization menu. So this is something brand new that Apple added. There is a switch now in your battery settings that you can say, never go past 80%. On many EVs, electric vehicles, the manufacturer recommends, unless you need all the range, charge to 80%. Why, you might ask? Well, the reason is, when you charge to 80%, you're not always using the same 8 out of 10 battery cells. There's some wear leveling going on. And so the idea is we're going to get, at any given time, we're going to give a rest to a fifth of the batteries a fifth of the cells in your battery, and that will extend the overall life of your battery. Now, Apple has always had, or at least in recent versions, optimized charging, where it notices what you need in the phone and then decides, and you might have seen this from time to time when you plug in your phone or put it on your charger, you might have noticed that it says, well, on optimized charging, in effect, I will reach 80% by 6 a.m. So the question is, do you do it manually to tell it always 80%? The advantage of that is you leave it at 80%, and the days I'm going to need more, you turn that off. Or do you let iPhone handle it itself? I've gone back and forth. I've decided to let iPhone handle itself. What do you do?
That's what I do. So this is the 80% limit is new with iPhone 15
Just
models.
came out.
Yeah, no other phones can do that. And it is something I don't like this new feature. And the reason why is because I think it introduces too much anxiety into people's decisions about their batteries. I hear so much misinformation surrounding battery life on phones and charging and what people should do and shouldn't do. And if we would let go and let God, as Summer wants to say, if you just let it do its thing, it does it very well. And that's why I think that the optimized battery charging thing works well. So Apple, the system, iOS, will start to learn from your behaviors over time. It's a machine learning model that pays attention to when you're taking your phone off of a charger, when you're putting it on a charger, what kind of charger you're using, how much you're charging at a given time, how many times you take it off in the during the day. All of that information goes into the decision on how it should charge your phone. And if you ever need to, when Leah was just talking about that notification, if you tap on the notification that says optimized battery charging, if you tap and hold on it, you have the option to say, actually, I want you to charge it all the way right now. So if you decide you're the person that wants to be a little bit more involved and you get some control issues, well, you can go ahead and switch to that mode. But the idea of always having it charged to 80%, I think that was almost just an anxiety setting that got put in there because people were, I just want more control over it. I just need to know that it's working this way and I want it to work that way.
Let me show you. There's actually a ridiculous number of
the battery's got a lot.
Do you have the over-the-shoulder shot of my phone?
We need a... No.
Is the camera off?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would show you if I could. It's a little complicated. There's battery. So you go into battery, and then you'll see battery health and charging. This is on a new iPhone 15. And then you'll see another entry says charging optimization. That's where you have to go for all this. And then the choices are optimized battery charging, which both Micah and I use, or 80% limit, which means your phone will never charge more than 80%. There's a second half to this. Somebody in the chat room's pointing out in our Discord, you might not want to let your phone go below 20% either. Yeah. That's bad for batteries too, is to discharge too much. So I would only do this if you really never use more than, say, 40 or 50, at most 60% of your battery life in a day, because you're going to have 80%, and you don't really want to go below 20%. So the idea is, you're going to get more life out of your battery if you hardly ever use it. I don't know. You and I both buy new phones every year, so we don't really care.
No.
We're not trying to get 5, 6, 7 years out of your battery. That would only be for people who really want to go many, many years without putting a new battery. And by the way, Apple will, for
replace
a fairly reasonable fee, put a new battery in your phone. So...
Of note, too, even if you have that 80% limit turned on, Apple will still occasionally, iOS will still occasionally charge your battery to 100%, even with that 80% limit turned on.
Just to condition it.
For the sake of charge limits.
Yeah. There's also a setting, and I guess it's on by default, and I don't know if it makes any sense, called clean energy charging.
It depends on your location, So if you live in an area where the power grid is partially powered by clean energy, what the phone will do is it will wait until it's a more clean energy time and will then charge your phone during that period of time.
So you're saying that each and every iPhone checks to see what the electricity, what utility that you're using, and then figures out when optimized, charging is, and then I don't buy that.
If the utility, if your utility in your location, in your geographical region, publishes the information into a readable API.
Here's why I don't buy it. For instance, here in Sonoma, because we're in Sonoma County, in Petaluma, you may have Pacific Gas and Electric, but you may also have Sonoma Clean Power.
Right.
How does it know which company? It doesn't. It can't look at the electrons and say, oh, that's clearly solar powered. Furthermore, to add questionability to this, I use solar power. And in fact, most of the time when this is charging, it's not charging from the grid. In the daytime anyway, it's charging from solar power. So ideally, really, this should only charge in the daytime from my solar panels. Yeah. But it doesn't know any of that. So I don't know. It's on. I think it's on by default. I'm sure I didn't turn it on. It's no harm, no foul. I think it's probably more, to be honest, for show.
It's not on whenever you travel, because obviously it doesn't know the energy.
Why not?
Because let me try that again. The feature doesn't engage if your charging habits are variable. So if you don't have like a statistical charging, or you're in a new location, such as when you travel. Because of this, and to get the carbon emission forecast for your area, some location settings must be turned on for clean energy charging to activate. So again, it's only what's published, what's available for them to actually read
this
from.
Is really what Octavia Spencer made them do. I don't think they really wanted to do this. Now, this is, in my opinion, this is greenwashing, but okay, fine. It's no harm. We also, sort our recycling. We do whatever we can, right? Yeah. Whether it makes a difference, we don't know. I just color me a little bit skeptical on all of that. My general opinion is, and this is more and more true of a lot of things, the operating system manufacturer, the hardware manufacturer know what settings are best. Mm-hmm. And unless you have a strong reason to change those defaults, I would leave it. I wouldn't change it. I would leave it. But that's my thought. Now, at least the defaults in terms of things like charging. You can have any screen size, any font size you want.
Exactly.
There's no reason to stick with that. Hey, guess what?
What's up?
Coming up, Mr. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater geek.
Woo!
And he's got a question from a listener that he is going to answer in just a bit as the Ask the Tech Guys show continues. But first, let me talk a little bit about Mylio. Oh, I love Mylio. So we just got back from a trip, and I have Mylio on this computer. I have Mylio set up to automatically pull in photos from all my sources, from Instagram, from Flickr, from my Apple Photos library, from my iPhone's library, and it creates for me an utterly complete selection of all the photos I have in the world. This is the best photo management tool ever, and it's free. Mylio, MYLIO.com. This is by date. I'll go to September of this year, and you see this is by date. I have all the pictures from our trip, pictures of us at the Packers Hall of Fame, and yes, I even have pictures of my Pokemon. By the way, I deleted that on my iPhone, but Mylio says, well, you may still want that. Look how many photos I have in my library. I don't know if you can see this. It's tiny. 205,000 photos. Now, I eliminated duplicates. I downloaded all the photos from every source, including Google's Takeout. It automatically read Takeout, imported those, removed the duplicates. And now you can see on devices, this also shows you which devices. Now, if you get Mylio Plus, you could put it on many devices. And then you've got, in effect, a backup. You could choose whether you want the thumbnail versions, the optimized versions, or the original versions. You see, it even tells you how much space that's going to take up and how much hard drive it's going to use up. This is amazing, but I'm just getting started. It also has smart tagging. Look at all the different activities. Is there a ball player in any of my pictures? Apparently not. Oh, wait a minute. Let me clear that and just choose ball players. No, I don't have any ball players. Do I have barbells? Not yet. Parallel bars, pool tables, scuba divers. Let's go to weddings. Do I have bride pictures? Do I have groom pictures? I do all the people in my book I choose. But you can even combine smart tags. So I can have people with their eyes closed. I can have people with their eyes open. I can have brides with their eyes closed. This is the most amazing way to manage your photos. A lot of us have been looking for a great way to keep track of your photos. This is the smartest photo album I've ever seen, the smartest way to organize your photos, to share your photos, to track your photos. And the best part about Mylio is you don't have to use a third-party cloud service. You're not uploading your photos to Google or Facebook or anywhere else. By the way, you can pull all your Facebook photos into it as well. You can have your own backup if you want. Mylio will encrypt, so you can use iCloud or Google Drive or OneDrive as a backup, but it's fully encrypted, so nobody at those companies can see what you've uploaded. Mylio makes it easy to search. It does all of the face recognition, so everybody, you do train it. You say that, yeah, that's Lisa, that's Micah, and you pick a few photos, and then it goes through all of those 200,000 photos I have and finds all the Micahs.
On device.
On device. It's all on device. I guess that's really the most important phrase. You can do it with your documents folder too. And it has optical character recognition built in. So if there's text in an image, it knows it. If you've got PDFs that don't have the text attached, it can turn it into text. All of your Google Docs, your Word docs, all of this can be imported in. So this is really the ultimate document organization tool. We talk about photos. It's called Mylio Photos, and certainly it's great for that. Deduping is fantastic. It's very flexible. You can tell it how you want to dedupe. You can check every duplicate before it deletes, or you can say, as I did, after I looked at a few of them, hey, I trust you. You got this. And it goes through it. It is incredible. It is your new filing system for data. It's fast, it's smart, and it's free. Mylio.com/twit. MYLIO.com/twit. Don't wait. The solution to digital management exists. This is the most amazing thing ever. And I didn't have to do anything. It's got all my photos safe and secure. I'm backing it up to Synology. None of my photos go to any cloud. Mylio doesn't have a cloud.
Right.
None of my photos go to any cloud. They're all stored locally and backed up on my Synology NASs. I think this is so great. Get Mylio Photos for free today on your computer or mobile device, mylio.com/twit. And then when you want to put it on everything, which I ended up doing on my Android, on my iPhone, on my Windows, on my Mac, on everywhere, on my Synology, you can do that if you get Mylio Photos Plus. Mylio.com/twit. But start by, you're skeptical. You probably are. I was. So start by downloading it for free. Mylio Photos from Mylio, MYLIO.com/twit. I guarantee you, once you see all it can do, and get all your photos in there, you will be blown away. And you probably will get the Plus subscription because it's great to have it. I have it on every device. And I don't ever have to think again. We're out there. We're taking so many pictures on our trip. I don't worry. They're backed up. They're stored. They're safe. They're on everything. Mylio.com/twit. Give it a try today. Scott Wilkinson, home theater geek. That's your new theme, and I'm sorry about that. Hey,
Perfectly
Scott.
Fine. Hey, Leo. Hey, Micah.
Hiya. Good to
How
see
you
you.
guys
How are
doing?
things in beautiful Santa Cruz?
They are beautiful.
Oh, I bet they are.
Truly beautiful. We have moved into our new house.
Oh,
now.
nice.
Been here for a couple months, and it is lovely.
Good.
So we sent you, I think we have been sending you many questions. Scott is now doing a weekly show, by the way, we should mention. If you're in Club Twit, Home Theater Geeks is back. Scott does it every week, so you can watch it every week. It's on the Twit Plus feed. All you have to do is be a member of Club Twit, and I think that's
right.
by itself.
And we're answering a lot of user questions on the show too, which is really fun. I really enjoyed doing that.
If you're interested in AV, home audio, home theater, this is the man.
If you've got HDMI CEC questions, he's the guy to talk to.
Yeah.
What's our question of the day today?
Well, it's from Jack in London, England.
Oh, lovely.
Hi, Jack.
Hey, Jack. Yeah, he's got an LG 48-inch CX or C10. I hate when they use...
I kind of have that. Well, it's an LG C series.
It's an LG C, but I don't remember which.
What is that number? That tells you what year it is?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Tells you what year it is. And the CX is, I believe, 2020.
Okay.
The C1 is 2021. We're up to C3 now.
Okay.
Anyway, he's got a 48-inch OLED with a Sonos Arc soundbar. Very nice. And the Sonos Arc soundbar, which has only one HDMI connector, is plugged into the TV's HDMI eARC input, which also sends audio from the TV out to the soundbar. And that's how he's getting audio to the soundbar. So that's all fine. It says, I believe it's set up correctly because when playing Dolby Atmos content, I look at the Sonos app and it says Atmos. Great. Wonderful. In the TV settings, he has a digital sound out set to pass through, which means, and the HDMI inputs are set to bit stream. So what that means is he's got all of his devices, his source devices, connected to the TV. It's using the TV as the switcher, if you will, just choosing which source he's going to watch and listen to. And the problem is that he's suffering from audio sync issues. And it's really frustrating because he has to change the TV dialogue sync in the Sonos app every time he switches inputs. For example, the LG Netflix app sync is on a setting of +1, but the Prime is +5 in order to get the voice and the picture synchronized. And his two game consoles, Xbox Series X and a PS5, those have different settings as well. Now, his partner doesn't notice this, but it drives him nuts. So is there anything he can do to fix it? Should I be running all my connections through something else instead of straight into the TV? Is there a better sound bar? That Sonos soundbar is very good, but it only has one HDMI input. One solution might be to get a soundbar and use the soundbar as the switcher, rather than the TV, making it more like an AV receiver. But I looked into the LG OLED's manual. I dug kind of deep into it and found a number of things. Looking mostly at the sound menu, there's a sound out parameter, and it can be set to a variety of things, but he has it undoubtedly set to HDMI ARC, which is correct. And there's a separate control in the sound menu, completely different from this, called EARC, Enhanced Audio Return Channel, which just has a wider bandwidth than the original ARC. And he has to make sure that's set to on, which I'm sure it is because things are working more or less. Now, the manual says that when instant game response is on, audio delays may occur if sound out is set to HDMI ARC. Oh, well, okay. And instant game response, oddly, well, maybe not so oddly, is in the picture menu. So it probably disables some functions in the TV to minimize response time. Because when you're playing a game, and he's got two game consoles connected, when you're playing a game, you want the response of the TV to be as short as possible because you're doing real-time interaction with the game. So I would turn instant game response off when you're not playing a game.
Isn't there a game mode? I know there is on my new Samsung. There's a game mode that does all of those settings.
Yes.
So if you turned off game mode, would it turn off all the other related?
Probably so.
Things? Yeah.
Yes.
So in other words,
an easier way to.
If you want to avoid these syncing issues, don't have game mode on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Game mode also changes the picture in some pretty ugly ways. So.
Correct.
I wouldn't watch a movie in game mode.
No.
It'd be a little vibrant.
Yes, just a little. Now, as a troubleshooting step, I might suggest trying setting sound out to the internal speakers and see if you still have the same problem. This is just a troubleshooting step, but it might tell you something. Now, the most important one, I think, the most important setting is called AV Sync Adjustment, which is probably saved with each input separately. So this can solve the problem. He says he has to go into the Sonos app every time he switches between Xbox and PlayStation 5, right? And change the setting in the Sonos app. Well, no, you can do it in the TV and save that setting for the input that the Xbox is connected to and the input that the PS5 is connected to. And then you don't have to go and do it manually anymore. So that's the answer to that question. The other thing I would...
It's
I know.
crazy.
So many.
Well, TVs these days...
In the living room, I have a very elaborate setup with a Denon AV receiver, as you know, Scott, because you even struggled with it, right?
I did. Yes,
and I have that Samsung TV, and it has a breakout box, and there's all sorts of stuff. We had a house sitter while we were in Green Bay, and I actually Lisa said that just before we left, hey, do those instructions work? And I said, oh God, no, those are old. So I take a picture of the remotes and label them and have 5 or 6 steps on how to do anything, watch TV.
Yep.
Now that's the one in the living room. The one in the bedroom, which is that LG, by the way, I simplified the whole thing by connecting it to an Apple TV. And what an interesting thing happens if you don't have anything else connected to it, you just have an Apple TV. The Apple remote, when you short press it, turns everything on. And it gets it in the right place. Now, you're only watching Apple TV. You're not watching the cable box. There is no cable box. You just watch. And then when you long press the Apple remote, it turns everything off.
Yep.
And I thought, this is really how it should be.
Really nice.
But CEC is so unreliable. And unfortunately, in general, we have many, many devices hooked up to our television, not just one box.
That's exactly right. The other advantage of having the Apple TV, as you pointed out there, you're not using the TV's internal streaming apps.
No, the Apple TV apps and audio is handled by the Apple TV.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I might suggest, for Jack in London, if he watches a lot of the apps on the TV, get an Apple TV or a Roku or one of these main streaming devices. They're, $100, $150. Apple TV is a little more expensive, but I like
Roku's
it. I use it.
Are very cheap. And if you want it the cheapest, the Fire TVs, I think they pay you now to get one. They're so cheap.
Well, it's true, but they push a lot of Amazon ads at you too.
I like Roku's great, and Roku's down
Roku's
to
great.
Between $30 and $50 for 4K.
Right. Well, the UHD ones, the 4K ones are a little bit more.
Are they? Okay.
But under $100 certainly.
Oh yeah.
And then that plugs into an HDMI input on the TV, and that would solve this problem, I think, pretty well. Because the real problem is he goes from Amazon, from Prime to Netflix or something within the TV. They all have different delays, and I couldn't find anything in the manual that talked about these apps, these internal apps at all, much less how to change the audio delay on each one.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's possible.
Yeah. The TV should handle that, right? That's why you use ARC, the audio return channel.
Yeah,
so that
exactly
the TV
right.
can do the delaying or whatever it needs to do to make the picture and sound sync up, and then it sends it out to your sound.
Exactly.
They all love to call these protocols different names.
Well, that's
they
the
all
problem.
have
CEC isn't even the same everywhere.
It's what is it? Any cast or any net or something?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's so frustrating.
We were when we went to the Airbnb that we used. It was nice. He had TCL TVs everywhere with Roku built in. And because Roku was built in, I was able to log into our YouTube TV and our Amazon Prime. I logged into 3 or 4 services. But then I had to remember
to log out
as we were checking out to go to each TV and log them out. I did.
Good.
I noticed that I was the only one who had. There were many other accounts available.
Yes.
But
it's so easy to forget.
It's easy to forget. Hotels have a better system where they forget when you check out, and that's a better way of doing it. But I'm increasingly liking this solution. Instead of paying $90, for a 3-day stay at a hotel to watch TV, you just input your whatever, your Amazon Prime or your Apple TV, or these TCL TVs actually had Apple TV Plus on there, or the Apple TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So it really nowadays I think it's gotten a lot better for that kind of stuff.
Cool.
A Roku Express 4K Plus, which is their least expensive 4K, is $40.
Wow, $40.
Yeah. You and I have the Ultra, which is their top end streaming device.
How much is that one?
That
now?
adds Ethernet. That's $100.
$100.
It also has the higher end voice remote, the Roku voice remote, which I really like.
And I will say, having an Ethernet connection, if you can,
makes a big difference. Yeah.
Makes a big difference. Wi-Fi streaming from the cloud, can hang up, can stutter, and it's a problem. Having a hardwire connection is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pleased when the Apple TV updated the Ethernet port so that it was not the old, I can't remember, what was it, 10100 or whatever.
10100.
I was waiting.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would announce a new Apple TV. I was waiting to see if they did, because I have a pretty old one. in my office at home, and I thought it'd be nice to have a newer one. When they didn't, I bought the new remote because the old Apple TV remote was horrible. But the new remote, and it does, by the way, I think it's the new remote that's doing all the work with the long press and the short press. So.
The short press, right? Okay, cool.
Scott Wilkinson, he is a home theater geek. What do you got coming up on Home Theater Geeks?
Well, I will be answering more listener questions, and I'm just now arranging to have on the show Robert Zone and a couple other people. They are doing the flat panel shootout as we speak.
Oh, right.
They're doing it this weekend. Yesterday they did the 4K shootout.
It's that time again.
It's
that time of year.
Oh, boy.
That's right. And today they're doing the 8K shootout. So they now do a 4K shootout and an 8K shootout. And I'm going to have them on the show as soon as I can schedule them on to talk about what the results were, because this is a very important thing in my opinion. They line up all the flagship TVs from the different companies, and they have expert judges. I mean, golden eyes of Hollywood and so on come in, and they've calibrated them all. And they feed them all exactly the same signal, and everybody goes around and scores them on a bunch of different attributes, like color accuracy and depth of black and so on and so forth. And one comes out almost every time. Sometimes there's a tie. The king of 4K TVs and the king of 8K TVs. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of that. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. When we were in Green Bay, Scott, you'll be interested to know, we visited Amazon Prime's Thursday Night Football trucks. There are 9 of them, the remote trucks that they use to broadcast football games. It was an amazing experience. I want to thank the TD there, Brad, who let us come in and peek around. That's
fun, isn't it? I love doing that.
Yeah, he says Amazon, I have it on my screen if you want to show it. He says Amazon spent... he said stupid money building this. Let's put it this way, spared no expense building the most amazing control room on wheels.
Yeah, look at that. Wow.
The other thing I thought you'd be interested, they shoot everything on the field, at least for the Thursday Night Football games, 1080p HDR. And all of these screens, by the way, are HDR screens in the truck. He said last year we sent out SDR, but this year we're sending out HDR.
Good.
1080p. I wish it were 120
4K.
frames or 4K, but this is, remember, television, and so they can't go too crazy. But 1080p is pretty good, and of course it's 59.9, so it's fairly decent.
Right. And they probably upscale it to 4K for some broadcasting.
I have YouTube TV, which I pay a lot extra for so-called 4K YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Very few 4K broadcasts out there in the world. It's usually international events like the World Cup of soccer, where you have 4K, or the Olympics.
Native
I think
4K
American,
anyway.
I think the American football is they have so many cameras there, and they have to move them around from city to city. I don't think they're quite ready for that yet. But Amazon, which spent a lot of money for Thursday Night Football, is doing 1080p high dynamic range, which is pretty cool.
Well, that's great. High dynamic range, in my opinion, is far more important than increased pixel resolution.
Yeah. Really?
So they made the right choice there.
Yeah. It sure looks good. You don't get HDR from your broadcaster, but you do get it on YouTube TV if you bought a Sunday ticket.
Streaming platforms. Yeah,
really
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
When is Tuba Christmas? Do you know yet?
Tuba Christmas, December 3rd, Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. in Los Angeles. All information is available at tubachristmasla.com.
It's getting, here we are in spooky season, so that means Thanksgiving's just around the corner, and you know what that means? Tuba Christmas.
Tuba Christmas coming right up.
Thank you, Scott.
You bet. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're
Bye
watching
now.
Ask the Tech Guys. And by the way, a reminder, if you want to see more of Scott, every week now he does his Home Theater Geeks show. It's for our club members because they pay for it. We had to cancel the show originally because of the audience size and the lack of advertising, so we couldn't afford to do it. And this is always a problem. I don't want advertisers ever to drive what we can do, but if we can't build enough of an audience to drive advertising, it means we're paying for it out of pocket, and we don't have pockets. You see, there's no pockets at all. So as a result, we have to only do shows that are profitable. I hate to say it. However, the club makes it possible to do a lot more shows. So we have a lot of special shows in our club, including Home Theater Geeks. Micah does the Hands-on Macintosh show. Some of these, by the way, we put a handful of them out on YouTube so you can see what you're missing.
Yes.
So you feel terrible. You also Hands-on Windows with Paul Thurrott. We've got the Untitled Linux show with Jonathan Bennett, the Giz Fizz with Dick D. Bartolo. Lots of special events. When is our escape room? Is that coming up pretty soon?
Yeah.
I got to prepare my brain for this.
It's a Thursday in October, so coming up.
Lots of events coming up. A fireside chat with John Scalzi this Thursday, 9 a.m. If you're a sci-fi fan, that will be great. The escape room is October 26th. Stacy's book club's coming up. The book this month, John Scalzi's Kaiju Preservation Society. That'll be interesting. Renee Ritchie joins us for a fireside chat in November. Jeff Jarvis, Doc Searles, and I will do an Old Farts fireside chat in December. And Anthony Nielsen, our AI guru, will join us early next year. That's just some of the events planned. These are all in our Club Twit Discord, which is another benefit of being a member. Not only do you get ad-free versions of all of our shows, all those special shows, you get access to the Discord where you can chat about anything, any geek subject, as well as the shows. It's not just chat about the shows. So we do have that, but we also have a huge number of forums that you can chat about all kinds of topics, including AI and dentistry, and no, there's no dentistry. All of that stuff is in our Discord. Really fantastic. Highly recommend. And it's only $7 a month. So please, if you're not yet a Club Twit member, I would love to have 100% of you join Club Twit. That would make a huge difference. It would mean we could do a lot more programming, like Scott's Home Theater Geeks. Twit.tv/Club Twit. Cheaper than cable, better than cable, says Lunchbox Steve. Get Twit, your brain will thank you. Hey, thank you,
Thanks.
Lunchbox Steve. That's a new slogan.
Get Twit, your brain will thank you.
All right, we're going to get some more calls in just a bit. You're watching Ask the Tech Guys, Micah Sargent and Leo Laporte. 888-724-2884 is the phone number. Email is atg@twit.tv, and you can also Zoom us. Who's zooming who?
Call.twit.tv.
There's actually a phone call that I would like to pick up.
Pick it up. Press the button. John Ashley, producer man. We missed you last week, by the way. Anthony Nielsen filled in for John.
Yes.
Did you go somewhere?
Yes, I actually went to Las Vegas to play Magic the Gathering.
And he won.
No, I didn't win. I won something that paid for the trip and more. I didn't win the main prize.
But you won. You still won.
I won.
What did you win?
I won a card that I sold for $2,500.
What?
Yeah.
And what was the game? Were you just playing against?
I was playing against other people in person.
But was there a name for this tournament? Or?
Look up MagicCon Las Vegas.
Were you on a stage? Were there people in the crowd going, "Yeah, John Ashley, John Ashley"?
No.
Okay. Did you go to the MSG Sphere while you were in Vegas?
I actually stopped by. I took the monorail and I went by it because the monorail.
Did you feel like you were living in the future?
It was
Then
weird.
you could take Elon Musk's boring tunnel to the convention center. We're starting to get images from the U2 concert. The Sphere opened to the public this week with a concert from the Irish band U2, and it looked amazing. I don't know if you've seen these pictures yet. Let me see if I can look and see if I can find some pictures here of this. A number of people posted, they have the screen on the outside, right? But they also have the screen on the inside. So while there's a stage, I bet if I check Linda Yaccarino's company, I could find it. Let's see. I'll search for U2. Because I think, here we go. Here's somebody posted. So they use the screen inside, which is a giant sphere, And the stage is this little circle down here. See?
Whoa, so that all is
That's
doing
the
stuff.
sphere. And there's almost 1,600 speakers in the place.
This must be so expensive.
I really wish I'd been able to go.
Oh, those are letters.
Well, they can do anything they want. That screen can be, look, there's...
Oh, come on. That's amazing. That is...
You want to go to Red Rocks, John?
I want to go to
And by the way,
there.
most of that audience is fake.
Yeah, I see it. It spreads out from there.
It has a real kind of Vision Pro
That is
vibe.
miraculous.
Yeah. Thanks to, let's see, Trung Fan's X account.
They can only build it in places where there's very little weather, or else it'd be so sad if something happened to it.
There's the stage.
Wow.
So, I mean, we've all been to, lately concerts really are all about the projection system.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went to see Taylor Swift or anybody, the projection system is a big part of it.
Yep.
But nothing like this.
That's incredible.
And it dwarfs the performers are down here. They're the little people down there. Here's another shot from another angle. It must have been amazing. John, you want to go see the wall in the MSG sphere? That would be something. Wow. That would be something. All right. Now, you said we were going to take a phone call, and meanwhile, I've been stalling.
Oh, they've been on the line for a while.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name, and where are you calling from?
I'm Chris from, we'll call it Mobile, Alabama. That's probably the closest place,
Close enough.
real city to me.
Close enough. Hi,
Yeah.
Chris.
Well, y'all sound a lot better actually on the Zoom call than even on the podcast I get.
Well, that's because we are
that is amazing.
professional broadcasters. I don't know why that is, but anyway, I'm glad you can hear me. What can we do for you?
All right. Well, I got two questions. One, hopefully simple. One might be a little more difficult. My son, he is doing a bunch of YouTube videos now and running his own channel.
Wow.
And it's almost birthday time.
Ooh.
So I want to look at getting him a new computer, but he's also doing some 3D modeling at school. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure which way I need to go, whether I need to stick with Windows like he has now, or if I need to finally get him to switch to the dark side and get a Mac.
Well, neither of us are ever going to recommend Windows machines, right?
All right, I know.
This is the one area I don't know where I would hesitate, because when I think about the amount of content that's out there teaching someone how to do 3D modeling, how to do this, like the YouTubers and the gamers and the YouTubers and the gamers and the streamers. I sound like an old man right now, but they are all Windows folks. They're using PCs.
you can use OBS Studio to broadcast on a Mac.
You can. I'm not saying that. It's just that when I think of learning more about how to do it, there's a lot of content from other people out there who are doing that. Now, again, when we're talking about graphics and modeling, yes, I do think that Mac is the way to go.
I also think Apple has a huge commitment to 3D.
Right.
And especially because this Vision Pro headset's coming out. I know if you asked Alex Lindsay, he would say, well, if you need to do really high-end rendering, you're never going to get anything as powerful as a high-end PC, but you're not planning on spending $10,000 on this. And your son's probably not doing photogrammetry and some of the things that take a lot of processor power. I think Apple's commitment...
Not unless I let him.
I think Apple's commitment to 3D... especially because they're going to be making products that will use 3D models, is really the determining factor here. Plus, you can get them, and I would say there's a couple ways you could go. Unfortunately, the iMac right now is underpowered. It's not the high-end device from the Apple folks. But these Mac Minis, there's two really choices for you, a Mac Mini or a Mac Studio. And I think you should look at, especially for a kid. How old is he?
He's 16.
Oh, this is a little more challenging. Does he game?
He games, but primarily on the Switch.
Oh, good. Because the one thing Apple is still laggard in is high-end AAA gaming, and PCs are so much better for that. But on the other hand, I don't think you want him to start putting a lot of energy into gaming. Get him something where he's going to put that same energy into his YouTube channel, into his 3D modeling, into learning, into coding. All of those things, I think the gaming is going to be a distraction. So if he wants to game, if he wants, the Mac is not a great choice for that. Apple's trying. Apple's decided they're going to be a gaming platform. We shall see. I would say you could get him. You want to get a Mac Mini with enough RAM. So you want to get the 16 gigabyte RAM version. It's a little more expensive, as you add this stuff. You don't need to get the 12-core CPU, the 19-core GPU. Although if you have the $300 to spend, that is going to. The difference is it's going to last longer. You're not going to, in 5 years say you need a new one. Same thing with getting 32 gigs of memory. The one thing you absolutely should do, though, is put a lot of storage in this thing. Alex Lindsay on our MacBreak Weekly, who does a lot of this high-end 3D graphics, says that the internal storage is much, much faster even than Thunderbolt 3 external storage. So get him at least a terabyte drive. That's probably enough. Again, it's going to depend on your budget, but I've just went by going to the high-end processor, 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte drive. I've driven this up to $2,100. Now, does he have a monitor?
No, he doesn't. He's actually using a HP laptop we got during the pandemic.
Oh, this will be so much better. Does he need a laptop though? Is he going to take it? Is he going to take it to school or?
No, he doesn't take it to school.
Good.
He likes the laptop so that he can sit in his bed and work on stuff and take it around with him.
Yeah, you could get him. I mean, if you're going to do that, this is for the same price that I just quoted you for that studio. This is a 16-inch MacBook Air, which would be fine.
Yeah, honestly, the MacBook Air does so much more than it should.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful machine.
So that's going to be that might be the better way to go if he does want to lie in bed and do it. And it has, with the M2 processor, it has a lot of horsepower.
I've been able to do video editing on it. So.
Absolutely.
And I've got the 13-inch. So
yeah. The only thing I would
he's
say.
Been doing video.
Go ahead.
Because he's doing video editing on the Athlon 3 processor right now.
Oh gosh!
When I was
8 gig of RAM.
Oh geez!
Yeah, when I was in high school,
Lord.
I had a video show, and I had to literally sit over our AC vent on the floor of our kitchen in order to keep it cool enough to finish rendering the video that I was doing. So I've definitely made it work with what I had. So you doing this is going to be such an incredible jump. The reason that I had asked those questions earlier is because from my own experience, if I was already making videos and I was using applications and a system that I knew, switching machines and systems will build in a period of time where your son will have to relearn how, like if we switch to iMovie or Final Cut or something like that, that's going to be a period of time of relearning. So that's why I hesitated a little bit there. But if it's a cross-platform tool, or if there's a lot of activation energy right now at 16, that means you'll have that get up and go and that curiosity to change to a new program. So
yeah, I don't think he's going to have a problem. And he could use Blender and a number of open source tools on the Mac as well as you can on the PC. I don't think there's any reason to get a PC. For video editing, he might even want to use DaVinci Resolve, which is free. A lot of people are starting to move to Resolve. My own son, who's a TikTok and Instagram influencer with millions of followers, and editing is his whole thing. He does cooking, but it's all about the editing. He's started to move from Adobe Premiere to DaVinci Resolve, a free program, because it does everything he needs it to do. And that's available on the Mac as well. I would look at a 15-inch MacBook Air, right? Or should he get a Pro?
If you can do the Pro,
it's up to you on the budget.
Yeah,
this Air that I just spec'd out, 16-inch MacBook Air with 24 gigs of RAM and a terabyte hard drive, is $100 less than that Mac Studio, and comparably fast. And you won't have to buy a monitor because it has a monitor.
Okay, let's be real. Coming from the device that you just said, an Air is going to be so much more than that. And the great thing about it is this could be the machine that lasts for quite a while.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm on right now. And you don't need a Pro. You really don't.
Yeah. I now that I think about it,
we're both using Airs. You're using an Air. And that's the Midnight Blue. For fingerprints.
Bad for fingerprints.
But cool looking. He's probably going to want that at the age of 16. You want the Midnight.
It's so
Mike has
cool.
put us.
I do put. Yeah, I've got vinyl on the outside of it, but
which he'll probably do as well. He'll put his Godsmack vinyl.
I'd be so happy with it. I can assure you.
I actually
it would be Pokemon stickers, actually.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. You should talk to my wife, big Pokemon fan. She's Pokemoning in Green Bay. Unbelievable. I had to too. You know what? I think there are going to be people who will say, "Oh, you're crazy. You should get a Windows machine." I find it very hard to recommend Windows these days.
Especially, Leo, the one thing that sold me is the desire to kind of subtly shift away from getting too into the gaming and focusing too much attention on that.
It pushes him in the right direction.
Yeah, I like the idea of it.
Somebody in the Discord says you could always get him a Game Pass, a Xbox Game Pass for $20 a month, and he could play all his games streaming. So there's always that.
There are options, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea to have gaming.
That's not Paul in there saying that, is it?
Yeah, it
Probably
might be.
Paul, isn't it? Yeah.
I think the username was definitely not Paul.
I think for a 16-year-old, a Mac is the right way to go. If he decides he wants to get into coding, it's a Unix box. I code. I use the Mac terminal. I use Emacs, and it's a fantastic coding platform. You don't have to do the Apple Swift stuff with the Xcode. You could do any coding. You can do Python. I can't think of a single thing.
Battery life is stupid. It's amazing.
Yeah. For gaming is the only one thing that you'd be missing out on. And I do feel like Apple's much more committed to 3D in the long run than Microsoft is. I don't know what Microsoft's committed to, by the way.
This is also
it's not completely clear what
even are they committed to?
I have to say there's a big issue, a security issue now with Microsoft. We've been talking about this on security now. We'll probably talk about it on Twit this afternoon. I want to raise the alarm. You may remember us talking about Microsoft losing control of their signing certificates.
What?
This was earlier this year. Because they lost control of their signing certificates, I believe they've fixed it. But we don't know over those 6 months how many certificates were signed, and this would impact everybody from a consumer using Windows 11 to the biggest enterprises using Azure. All of them are potentially compromised, and the only way to fix this would be for Microsoft to deprecate all existing certificates and start over again. They can't do that. That would be 1.5 billion users who suddenly would be logged out and would have to log in again. So there is going to be, in my opinion, an ongoing calamity that Microsoft cannot solve with security. I'm going to bring this up with Steve. We'll talk about it on Windows Weekly, I'm sure. But if you needed another reason to stay away from Microsoft products, this would be it. I think, frankly, there's a huge problem.
Yeah, that's wild.
All the windows are open. as our friend,
I used to be a Microsoft admin, so I understand a lot of the problems.
Do you understand why that's a problem? That they, for 6 months, bad guys had, without Microsoft's knowledge, access to the signing certificates. They could sign as many certificates as they wanted in that 6 months. We don't know where they are. We don't know where the phony certificates are. This is a calamity of. There's never been anything worse, in my opinion.
And do we even know, even if Microsoft revokes them, whether or not the operating system would bother to acknowledge the revocation?
Right.
We've seen in the past with other certificates, they don't.
It's a big problem with certificates. You don't really have a good revocation process. I'm glad. So you understand why this is potentially a hair on fire situation. I don't know. And Microsoft's trying not to talk about it. Frankly, I think a lot of security gurus are trying not to talk about it because there's no fix. So it's kind of painful. I'm going to talk about it. I think it's a huge problem.
I'll offer everybody a free copy of Call of Duty. That'll solve the problem.
There you go. Yeah. If you want to play Call of Duty, get an Xbox. 3D, get a Mac. I think it's the way to go.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. It was a great one. Oh, you had another one, didn't you?
It's a little simpler. I've been digitally detoxifying for a while.
Good.
And I don't even have a smartphone anymore, but I'm trying to get something a little bit newer so that I can actually get something that does larger than 70K files back and forth with the family for images. I don't know if you've seen anything. It's called the Fig Flip 2. It is a kosher smartphone. It doesn't have internet. It doesn't have video.
So you can use it on the Sabbath.
It has email.
Wow. Can you use it on the Sabbath?
I'm not Jewish, so I don't know, but
the
I would
Fig
think so.
Flip 2, it's inexpensive. I'll tell you one other thing it's an encrypted kosher OS. That's wild. I think the one other thing I might consider, I don't know anything about this phone, I'll look into it, is the Fairphone, which is a highly repairable Linux-based smartphone. It's fully open. And as a result, I think you could really control it. Now, this is a flip phone, which means you don't have apps on here. And if that's what you're trying to avoid, I don't blame you. Then
I'm trying to avoid anything like that. It actually runs Android 11.
But they've somehow...
that's what got me.
Somehow blocked out the apps, I guess.
I think they're running a custom version of the Android OS.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be fine. I mean, you could. There are plenty of companies, including Nokia, that still make what they call feature phones. But you and I might know them.
That's actually what I'm talking on right now is a Nokia feature phone.
Yeah. So you can still get feature phones. I don't know if the Fig phone would be. I think it's hysterical that it's kosher. That probably means you can use it on the Sabbath, but it feels like that might not be true. I don't know what.
Yeah, some people use Android phones and then just have a bunch of filters to lock them down so they don't have apps and things on them. That is another option where you can send.
This does have Waze, calendar, notes, calculator. It has a music player that's offline. Please note that due to rabbinical advisement, video is not supported on the phone.
Huh.
That's one of the things that makes it kosher. What an interesting...
Yeah, so if someone tried to send you video, you wouldn't be able to play it.
Yeah, I can't recommend against it. I don't know anything about it. It has nav. I don't think you could use it on a Sabbath, but you don't care about that. I did, and I will recommend this from Psychology Today. Breaking up with your smartphone. You already know about this. Dr. Mitch Ablett. Now, this moment is the time to break free. He's got some solutions for people who want to kind of restore their attention to the world.
Don't make me.
I was really observing this as I walked around, and I don't think we're ever going to go back from this, that most people now, at any point when they might conceivably be bored, will immediately open their phone, including at every meal. How many times are you sitting? Go to a restaurant, and everybody at the table is not interacting with each other; they're looking at their phone. You know what? This device is not going to go away. I don't think this is ever going to be fixed. I think this is the new normal.
Yeah.
But there is a real consequence to not allowing yourself to be bored.
Did you see the study? Oh, this is a study from actually quite a while back, but people were given the opportunity to sit in a room for between 6 and 15 minutes in complete silence, all by themselves. And there was one option. You could either sit in complete silence all by yourself, or you could shock yourself. The number of people who chose to shock themselves instead of just sit silently in the room was rather high.
I would rather be in physical pain than sit by myself alone in silence. But I seriously think that this is almost an evolutionary step, that we are I just don't ever see us going back. I think this is just the new normal. Anyway, a really excellent article in Psychology Today on how to weaken the phone habit. I admire you. The fact that you've been able to do this, Chris, wow. Bravo. How does your 16-year-old feel about that?
Yeah.
He's just upset when he tries to send me memes that I only get this really small thumbnail I can really see.
That's a new way, by the way. That's the other thing I noticed. Is
print
a new way
out the memes.
Communicating. Instead of having conversation, people be on their phone, and then they'll hold up the meme and show it to the other person, and they go, ha ha, sure, a laugh, and then go back to this. I'm not, by the way, casting aspersions.
Right.
I just think this is the way it is. But I mean, a lot of things come out of being bored, including creativity, ambition, forward motion of all kinds.
Well, it's the loss of what is the term? The loss of delayed gratification.
Oh, that too.
And delayed gratification is something that's very important to instill resilience in people. So,
but we're designed to, if you can keep the brain buzzing at all times, then when there's a silence, you go nuts. And so we're designed really to be drawn into this. I don't blame smartphone manufacturers or app manufacturers or the technology industry. They weren't really thinking about this, but they have in fact created digital crack, and we are now all addicted. So bravo, Chris, for going cold turkey. Wow, that must have been hard.
Did you have a patch or something you wore?
We all need screens.
No, I wish I could say it was positive, but no. About 15 years ago, I completely burned out from IT and shut down and disconnected everything I could, which unfortunately meant not listening to y'all anymore.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I'm thrilled.
Back and forth, but I've slowly allowed myself a little bit. I listen to all the podcasts I can from y'all.
I think that's okay. That's like reading a book. I listen to audiobooks. I don't think that's, as long as you, what I think is important is you do allow space to be just quiet and present. And that's what this article in Psychology Today is about, is getting mindfulness, he says, has become the leafy greens we need in our lives.
I like that.
And I think that's true. I think that people who practice it, though, will be few and far between in the future. I don't see a younger generation in embracing that at all. Even your son, he's lying in bed with a laptop, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, it's great to talk to you. Congratulations on burning out. Have you noticed any benefits from your digital detox?
No, because I found other habits to pick up.
Humans.
Human nature.
What are you going to do?
Happy birthday to the sun.
Started smoking and drinking. So, that's okay. Hey, Chris, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Take care. I'm glad you're listening again.
Yeah.
We don't want to be, though, the part of the digital problem.
No.
By any means. So
we have a digital problem, but we don't want to be part of the digital problem.
We are the digital problem.
Yeah, you can't take this away from me. I gotta do things.
So how are you on that?
I put myself in situations. So I have rules for myself. Because I have to go to the pharmacy occasionally to get medication, and when I'm standing in line, I don't let myself.
But you notice everybody in the pharmacy.
Yep, on their phones.
Even in the line at the grocery store, where they used to put all the candy there and the People magazines because they knew you were going to be bored, so you would buy them. Now, they don't even bother. Just look at your phone the whole time.
Stuff there?
Right?
Just on your phone.
Yeah. People are filling their gas tanks. They're on their phone. It's amazing. I actually practice this because everybody in my family does this. So I just don't have the phone out at meals. And it's really fascinating. Mostly I'm just sitting there looking around because everybody's busy.
Yeah.
It's really, but I'm not being critical. I think this is just, it's just different. The way it is.
Yeah. Different for different folks. And for many folks, I feel like, the phone.
I mean, I guess if I wanted to be judgmental, you should probably be with the people you're physically with rather than the people on your,
if the people
Instagram
that you're physically
feed.
with are a positive, you know what I mean? If
That's true.
If you're escaping from a situation that is uncomfortable for you or bad for you,
that's a good
then
point.
I understand. But if it's a good thing, spend the time with the people that are physically there.
On we go with the show. In just a moment, you're watching Ask the Tech Guys with little Micah Sargent and big fat Leo Laporte. So you don't need video. I'll just describe this.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Two individuals sit on chairs.
Sitting on chairs.
There is a fireplace roaring between them.
Yeah. All right. What should we do next?
What? Dinner compatible? What? I've never heard that before.
I'm not fat. I'm dinner compatible. Yeah. I have to say, I found many lovely foods to eat in Green Bay, Wisconsin, including
most
bratwurst,
of them dairy,
cheese curds, and beer. It's heaven.
Oh, man.
It's heaven, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what's going on?
I think, do we have Johnny Jet? I see.
Is it too early? Let's do it.
I see join the chat, so that's why I was
Let's do
curious.
another call and then do Mr. JJ. How about that? Johnny Jack coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Voicemail?
I was on my phone. I was.
Oh, I get it.
Shh, pay attention, will ya?
Do we have a voicemail?
Let's do a voicemail real quick,
Please.
actually.
Hi, this is Mike from Orlando. Hey, Leo and Micah. So I think on the September 10th show, you had Carl call in about the issue with his location showing up in D.C., even though he's in West Palm. I have the same problem. And it started about the same time he did. I am not on Xfinity. I'm on Spectrum. And this happens at work and at home on two different computers. My laptop doesn't have the problem, but it is appearing on Chrome and in Maps. So I don't know if there's something you can dig a little deeper, because it seems to be a bigger problem, or maybe it's just a Florida problem. Thanks, and I hope you can dig up something. And I'm going to say, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you are my only hope.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great to hear from you. You can always leave a message, by the way, if you call us when we're not on the air at 888-724-2884. I got so many emails from that call. I bet you did too.
Yes, yeah.
It's not an unusual situation.
Were they all from Florida?
No.
Your emails? Mine were not, but
No. And people had a number of different kinds of solutions, which none of which I can remember at the moment.
Build a Faraday cage.
You can go to Google and tell them, I'm not here, right? That would be one thing.
Yeah,
Let me
the
see if I
problem
can
is
find
the
some of these emails.
inconsistency. If you have to get to the right person and follow the right support chain for that to work, versus sort of getting held up or talking to someone who doesn't. So it doesn't work all the time, but if you can get to the right person in Google to say, I'm not in this location and everything is telling me it is, then they can do some reset process internally and get you in the right place.
Just looking through our massive, voluminous emails at Ask the Tech Guy to see if I could find some of the responses. It felt like there were a variety of different things. Here's the problem. It all comes down to, and we talked about this on the show, this system of figuring out where you are based on IP address, geolocation via IP. In fact, if you go to, a number of different IP checking, your internet protocol is your internet address. If you go to, for instance, IP chicken, which is...
What'd you call me?
IP chicken, which tells you what your IP address is. It will also say what your location is. Actually, this one does not, which is nice, but there are others that do. But notice when I do that, this is our IP address, but it also says additional information. That's the IP, the internet service provider, Sonic.net. So they own this pool of IP addresses, and then geolocation providers can ask Sonic, okay, in this pool, where are those people? And Sonic will say, oh yeah, those are the Sonoma County users. It's not perfect.
No.
So the key is that your internet service provider is telling, in effect, these geolocation services where you are. If your internet service provider is in Washington, D.C., as it was in the case of our caller, it's going to maybe say, well, I'm in Washington, D.C. I don't know where that guy is. So here's another site. This is geolocation.com. And so based on the IP address, there's where it puts me, which is actually pretty close to where we are, which is interesting. And maybe that SonicNet is providing them with even more accurate information. We are not, however, wait a minute. Where does it think we are?
Yeah, where is that?
Where are we? At Elsie Allen High School? Wait a minute, let's search. Let's do that one again. I think that was a mistake. Yeah, Santa Rosa. See, there we go. So we are not in Santa Rosa. That's the city to the north. That's actually the location of the Sonic offices. So what's happened is, in Elsie Allen High School, right in the middle there. That may even be a spurious location. If it gets a general location, it'll do the geographic center of that circle. So I don't think that Sonic has offices in Elsie Allen High School. I think, in fact, that's the geographic center of whatever radius Sonic has provided. Yeah, it says this is the postal code, 95407. That's not ours. That's just what Sonic's reporting. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is to go to the internet service provider and say, what IP address are you reporting for this IP address? Maybe they'll fix that for you. Second step is to go to Google. Depends who's misplacing you. You can, with Google, even without talking to a representative, say, no, I'm at this address. And sometimes that'll fix things. I'm not sure if there's a fundamental fix. I think this is just because
it's a try.
This is a bad system, this geolocation system by IP address. It just doesn't work very well. I've noticed, for instance, when we go on cruises, Google will make a map of your trips. And if you're using the internet that comes from the city you're in, your mobile provider from that city, it knows where you are. As soon as you get back on the boat and the boat sails away, you go back to the home location of the boat. So my map from Google Maps was Fort Lauderdale, Caribbean, Fort Lauderdale, Cuba. It was, and I would make this trip within seconds.
Right.
Because it's constantly reverting to the geolocation of the provider. And in the case of a cruise ship, the provider was the home office of the cruise ship in this case. So I don't know if there's a fix. It's a bad system.
It is.
And unfortunately, the good news is most mobile devices have GPS. So that you can get that information, not your laptop, however. And that's most of the time where that problem occurs. Now, speaking of traveling, this would be a good time to travel to beautiful Huntington Beach, California.
Not Huntington.
What beach are you on?
Manhattan.
Manhattan. You know why I get confused? Because I think Manhattan's on the other coast. Johnny Jet.
Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
JohnnyJet.com.
But Huntington Beach is a good time to be there right now because they're doing the air show.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't have to be shut down because of the government shutdown. Because it's stalled, they can do their air show.
You didn't even realize that was going to shut down. But
you know what? We're really going to shut down. Last week we showed you the Fat Bear contest, and that was going to shut down as well from the National Park Service.
Oh,
yeah. So,
well, the parks were going to be open, except they weren't going to have any rangers and the trash piles.
You can't do the Fat Bear contest without rangers.
I don't want to be around fat bears without. Mr.
I'm with you.
What happens now? There, in case you didn't see the news, they've extended it for 45 days. The government is not going to shut down. What happens to travel if there's a government shutdown?
The big thing is that they stopped training the new air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and all these people. So, but for short term, I don't think there's a huge impact, except there's no like National Park Service. They don't have any people working there and things like that.
So the TSA workers don't just
TSA,
go home?
they're all essential. Air traffic control, they're essential. So they'll be there.
Well, according to the New York Times, if the government shuts down, air traffic controllers and TSA officers will continue to work, but they just won't get paid.
Exactly. So if it goes on long, they're going to quit. They're going to quit.
Yeah. They get paid when the shutdown ends and there's money to pay them, but you're kind of relying on their goodwill.
Oh, my goodness.
Until then.
It's crazy because if people need a paycheck right then, they're going to. They got to find another job.
What?
And there is a shortage in ATC controllers.
I didn't know
so
that.
So the shutdown and training is also consequential. But the consequence gets pushed down the road. Anyway, good news, it didn't happen.
Oh, yes. Yet.
Yeah, well, they always seem to dodge that bullet right at the last moment. But let's hope they keep doing it. I spent some time traveling, as you know, Johnny. I went to Green Bay. One thing I noticed, Chicago O'Hare has inordinately long taxi times. Have you noticed this? In some cases,
I haven't been O'Hare in a while, but
getting to the gate from where you land took half an hour. I felt like we were going for a ride in the country. We're going for half an hour.
Was it a half hour? Wow. I mean, it's taken 10, 15 minutes before.
Yeah, I think
I used to go through there all the time.
It's relevant. What's relevant is where, because of winds and so forth, they're landing. What strip they're, what landing strip they're using, and then how close that is to the terminal for that airline. We were on American Airlines, which is, I think it's a hub for American Airlines.
Definitely is.
So and the problem is that we're going on the short haul American Eagle from Chicago to Green Bay, the little regional carrier, and they're a little more distant.
So you got to hustle to that terminal.
That was a lot of fun too. Yeah, we ran, and then the flight was delayed. Thank goodness.
Well, I actually just booked a flight for Christmas, and we were going to go through Chicago, then go to Toronto on a regional. So
yeah. However, air travel, I feel great. I tested this morning, did not get COVID. I wore my mask out, and I thought, oh, the heck with it. Let's live dangerously. And the only thing is when people start coughing near me, I get the mask on right away. I always have the mask with me. That's important.
Smart.
But I think, despite the fact that COVID seems to be a little bit of an upswing, I think it's okay to travel. I noticed the flights were all full. People were getting around.
Yep. Still have a lot of people going through checkpoints. Still record numbers in terms of, the last 4 years.
Yeah. Dr. Mom's mad at me, but I'm sorry, Dr. Mom. But
I've never been to Green Bay, so I'm interested in
Green Bay's
more.
Fantastic, and I highly recommend it if you can go when there's a Packers game. I think it's a little sleepy when the Green Bay Packers aren't in town, but boy, when they get in town, it's a party. It's a party.
Unless you're intolerant to lactose, then there's not really a reason to go.
Cheese curds, baby, all the way. Cheese curds.
Well, we were in San Diego a couple weeks ago, and the Padres weren't in town, and I could not believe how sleepy San Diego was. I just don't remember it being this sleepy.
That's why I like San Diego. Go out to Coronado. It's quiet. It's calm.
But we were right
relaxed.
downtown. We stayed at the Hilton downtown, and I was looking out. My wife's like, "There's really no one on the street."
Old Town San Diego's great, and some great Mexican food in Old Town San Diego. I love that.
Definitely. You're right near the border.
Oh, it's wonderful. So what travel takeaways do you have, Mr. Johnny Jip?
So I have a few. So actually, I wrote a post this week because I was watching the last bit of the New York Yankees baseball season, which ends in like an hour. I love watching the Yankees. And one of their announcers, David Cohn, he's a big-time pitcher, and he was telling Michael Kay, who's the other announcer, how he left his iPad at the LaGuardia checkpoint. And, Michael Kay is like, so did you have any identifying information on it? He's like, I didn't. And I was like, what? The guy travels all over for ESPN as well. And he made such a rookie move. So I wrote this post. It actually went viral. I'm sure he's pissed at me because I wrote New York Yankee legend and current baseball announcer makes rookie mistake at LaGuardia Airport.
I love it.
But he did. And I wrote this post and I told my wife, I said, listen, you got to listen to this banter right here between the two of them. So I replayed it. I have MLB. And I was like, can you believe he made such a bonehead move? And she looked at me. She's like, I'm like, please tell me you have all your electronics have your name and your phone number on it. And she like shook her head no. I was like, oh gosh.
None of mine do either.
You have no excuse.
So you should put a label on everything with your name.
You can put your name and your phone number and your email, or you could just put your first name if you don't want to put your last name. Yeah. But this way, when someone finds it at the security checkpoint, they can page you. Otherwise, how are they going to page you? They're just going to put it in lost and found if they're a good person.
Well, I could tell you a story, though. If you're at the Green Bay airport, twice the TSA guy came to the gate and said, did anybody leave their glasses at the TSA
that's
checkpoint?
Great.
Twice this guy
that's
did
Green
that.
Bay. That's a
very nice small town. People are very friendly. Yeah. It was really sweet. Then he comes and says, I got this medallion. It looks like a religious medallion. It looks like maybe that's the Virgin Mary. Anybody? And the guy says, yeah, that's mine. Unbelievable. Twice.
That's awesome.
So people do leave stuff. In fact, I remember when we had a backup advertiser on the radio show. They had a stunning statistic about the hundreds of thousands of laptops that are left at the security gates every year. Hundreds of thousands. It's very common.
Well, I watched the following game, and David Cohn says, guess what? There's a happy ending. They found my laptop. It's lost and found. He contacted them. He said, he looked up the number. I put it all on this post, and they emailed him back within 30 minutes. He emailed them, and he said that they told him that they lose 90 to 100 iPads a day.
A day.
Wow. At LaGuardia.
Day.
Wow.
So
I did leave a Kindle in a seat back pocket once. Now, if you leave something on the plane, you're never going to see it again, right?
No, that's not necessarily true either. Actually, just a few months ago, I left our backpack on the plane.
Ooh.
It was right after my dad died. My head was not in the right place. and I totally forgot. We always carry a backpack with extra clothes because we learned the hard way. One time my son threw up on my wife, middle of the flight, actually right when the flight took off. And she had to sit there with throw up on her because she didn't have a change of clothes. And, people spill drinks all the time on people. Anyway, always carry a backpack with extra clothes. And also, in case the airline loses your luggage, if you check a bag, you have at least have backup for a day or two.
So you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I got one of those labelers, brother labeler. I'm going to put my, you think phone number is what you should put on all your stuff?
I would put your phone number or your email. I think phone number is easier, but I would put your name too. I'd say, Leo.
It's Leo. Don't say the last name.
You can say Leo L.
Call me. Something. I'm Leo L. Here's my phone number. I put it on the back side or something, or inside the case or whatever.
Yeah. Do it on your phone too. Have it on your phone. I've never done that
my whole life.
My phone.
Okay.
My pretty phone.
How about my money clip? Should I put my name on the money clip?
Yeah, you can just put see ya.
Yeah.
So
what about my gold bars?
I usually carry a wallet case for my phone, and I don't have that right now, so I have a wad. If I left this at the TSA, you think if I put my name on the money clip there, I'd get that back?
Yeah. You never know, actually. You really
I don't often make age comments, but this is the most like my great grandpa you've ever been.
Oh my gosh.
You never heard of a money clip, kid?
He was very much for the money clip.
Actually, the older folks will roll it up and put a rubber band on it.
They definitely. But also, when you're going through security, by the way, I've seen people leave their Rolexes because they go through security and then all of a sudden they're like, you beep, they go back and they have to put their jewelry in another bin. And then they forget about it. I'm like, yo, here's your Rolex. So the best thing to do is take your wallet, your phone, everything, and put it inside your bag. Don't leave it in the bin.
Or I wear a Scott E vest every time I go to the airport with 41 pockets. And I make sure everything's in that Scott E vest. And then I put that on the belt. And that way I zip up the pockets. I'm never going to lose anything. Yeah.
Actually, I wrote a post a couple weeks ago. 3 Miami TSA agents got busted for stealing from people's bags. So what they would do is they would see someone put their cash in their bag, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they would flag that bag.
Yeah.
So then they'd pull that bag aside and the other person would distract the person. So if you ever get pulled to the side for your bag being flagged or whatever.
Distracted.
Don't take your eyes off of it.
Right.
I remember I almost got in an argument or a fight with a TSA agent because he's like, look at me. I was like, I'm not taking my eyes off my bag, buddy. So
wow.
Like I said, I'd put my arms up and say, go ahead, frisk me, but I'm keeping my eyes on my bag.
Why would he want you to look at him? It sounds like they were up to no good.
Who knows? But you know what? Always keep your bags. And when you push your bag, make sure you push your bag through the machine and then go through. Don't just leave it on the conveyor belt.
Wow. I actually write my name and phone number on every bill. That way.
This one's mine.
This one's mine. If you find a 20 and it's got my name on it,
return it, please.
The reward is $20. We were at the beautiful Lambeau Field, Green Bay Packers Stadium, which if you're a football fan is
So you went to the game?
We went to the game. Incredible. But they don't take cash anywhere inside the entire Lambeau Field.
Isn't that illegal?
Structure.
Maybe not there.
They have a machine at the entrance that you can take cash, turn it into a credit card that you can then use.
That's goofy.
But they refuse to take cash anywhere. And I was really thinking, cash is probably in a few years, we're not going to have cash.
Oh, please don't say that. You're going to get so many emails now.
I don't think we are. I think we're going to have touch to pay everywhere.
There are people who are so afraid of that future.
Why are they afraid of that? Because they're drug dealers?
I think that there's a lot of just sort of Luddite-based fear, but then there's the people who think that the government's trying to control you, and so then through that, there's fear. But then there's a third group that's a religious group that believes that the loss of paper money, and I'm saying this as someone with experience in this, the loss of paper money is the first
one of the signs of revelation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think they mention paper money in the Bible, but okay.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
I think this is insane because it's just insane. We can get rid of this now.
A lot of airlines don't take cash.
Yeah, no, they don't take cash on the airplane. Yeah, and now most credit cards now have touch to pay. I think it's very good for the Apple Watch because it really, everywhere I go now, I just
nice.
Doop, doop, doop. The reason I have, you might say, why do you have this wad of cash then? Tipping. I always
Yes.
tip in cash.
Well, yeah, definitely. Although at that Hilton San Diego I was at the other day, they had a QR code right on the desk saying, here's the way to tip our maid.
I don't trust
housekeeper.
that. I don't trust
don't
that.
either.
I feel like
I
they're
wanna
going to
make sure
skim
they
off
get
of
it.
it, right? They're going to say, there, we got one for you and one for me. One for you and one.
Agreed.
That's why I give the waiters, I give everybody, I give them cash because I figure they're going to put that in their pocket and they're going to keep that cash. That's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like going through a service or any of that stuff, but but more and more that's what's happening as well.
I go to the bank and I get $2 bills. I get $100 or $200 in $2 bills and $5 bills.
Yep. So
And I
does,
just
by
use
the way,
those
Steve
for tipping.
Wozniak. Although when he gets his $2 bills, he goes to the mint and he gets them uncut. And then he'll put one of the things he does, Wozniak, the founder of Apple Computers, he's a prankster. One of the things he does is he gets them put into a pad. And then he
tear one
off the pad and gives it to people. And then he likes to play around. It's like, oh, it's counterfeit. You can have it.
Yeah.
It's because
my gosh,
people don't
know.
First of all, people don't know. They've never seen probably a mint fresh $2 bill. They may not even know such a thing exists, right? So, and when you get it off a pad,
and the way that they look to the back of them, because they're
fake.
so well designed, they're so pretty in comparison to the other bills. That
Woz loves that. He gets. Sometimes he'll bring a sheet with him and scissors, and he cuts off a $2 bill and gives it to them.
My great uncle, that's how when we'd get birthday cards, he would give our little bit of cash in $2 bills always.
I think that's great.
And so I always
or silver
had $2
dollars.
bills.
You can still get silver dollars, I think.
Yep.
Anyway,
but tipping, by the way, has gotten out of control, especially during travel. I mean, there's places where there's no one even manning the booth, and they're asking for a tip.
So that's
a whole nother subject.
Yeah, that's another. Nowadays, this is a big topic because a lot of these payment systems, you do the tap to pay, they spin it around, and then you're supposed to give them a tip. But all you did was take my money. I'm supposed to give you a tip. But, you got to, and you feel bad if you say no.
And they watch you.
I do feel bad.
They're like, okay, it's called a guilty tipping.
Yeah. That's a hot topic right now. I don't mind. I am a big tipper.
Me too.
Because I've worked in service industries, I've waited tables, I've done all that, and I understand tips, and I am a big tipper.
I understand, but I'm not going to tip you on if I'm going to a takeout place that doesn't even have a table. It's just ridiculous.
I know it's a little crazy.
I do it.
I tip them. I give them 25%. I don't know why.
Wow. Well, you know what?
And a hearty handshake.
Why to do it? So good for you. But you know what?
So did David Cohn get his iPad back?
Yeah, he got it back.
I see that I'm looking at the article, tape your business card to the back of your stuff.
That's what I do.
I guess that's easier than writing it.
It is. It's just more legible.
Yeah.
But don't put your address. Don't ever put your home address anywhere on your bag.
Should I put my social security number? Or
yeah.
I just read a review.
Just give it to me.
I think it was on the Wirecutter of the best baggage tags, which is kind of crazy.
Wow, baggage tags.
But they recommended, and I bought about 6 of them. They recommended some silicone rubber baggage tags that you can have your address on them, but they don't show your address, right? So they have to, in order to see your address, they have to take off the baggage tags. And then, I don't know if this is them. No, I bought these years ago. But see, this is bad. Most baggage tags are like this. You got your name and your address on there. And people who want a Mac on you,
just put your phone number.
Just put, even then, you're giving out your phone number. So Wirecutter recommended some baggage tags that have a little flap. They have to take the baggage tag off to look under the flap.
This is one of mine. I have them run right here.
Oh, that's a nice one. That's leather.
So
that's a nice one. Let me see. I'm just going to look up this recommendation.
But you also put your address, or not your address. You put your contact information inside the bag as well as outside, because sometimes they get torn off when they're going through those machines.
Yeah, Lisa always has her passport, a photocopy of her passport, in her bag. So here it is. Believe it or not, the Wirecutter, the best luggage tags. And they recommended, I actually went out and I bought these. They recommended the Ovener silicone luggage tag. I like these metal attachments because they can't come off, right? And then there's your name, but underneath here is your phone number, your address. So somebody has to actually have physical possession of your bag and unscrew the tag. I don't know.
So you had to take a second,
But I bought a few of them. I figured good enough for the Wirecutter.
That's, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
Yep. Dry Heat says in our IRC, seems like you have to have a PhD to travel.
I know.
That's the great thing about travel. You're learning every time. I've flown so much, I still learn every single flight.
Part of traveling, I think, is putting yourself in a manageable, stressful situation. That little level of stress is good for you because it forces you out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I always when we're getting on the plane, I'm going, oh gosh, will I have the right money? You know, we're going to be able to find the hotel with a taxi driver speaking English. All of these worries, and then of course it always works out great. Some of the best travel experiences I've had are where things don't go well, and you make friends, and
that's usually the case.
Yeah, that's cool. So, don't have to print out boarding passes anymore. Did you notice that? They were all on my phone in my Apple Wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And when I first did that, I remember people looked funny. In fact, they didn't want to get in line behind you
because they were worried it'd take forever.
You're fumbling with your phone.
Right.
And now I sometimes even put it on my watch.
Yeah.
I have it on my
Crazy,
watch once in a while, but I still print mine out a lot of the times, or at least have.
Do you recommend doing that
on my computer? Just because, if your phone battery dies or your phone locks up, and you don't want to hold up the line. It's happened to me before. And also like to keep it for the record. I'm kind of a pack rat when it comes to travel. I keep, if I get upgraded to first class, I keep those menus. I keep all my boarding cards. I have all my boarding passes from when I was a kid.
Wow.
So, and hotel room keys, especially cool ones.
Gotta say, thank you for recommending Flighty. It's not free. Okay. It's a subscription.
Yep.
They don't even have a family plan, so I had to buy it. Lisa said, I'll let you be in charge, but man, it knew. You've even said this, that Flighty will know before the desk person will know. I'm waiting for a flight to go to see my mom. I'm waiting for a flight to Boston, and Flighty says, relax. You've got a couple of hours. And on the thing on the board, I'm sitting at the gate, it says, flight boards in 15 minutes. And the guy's, getting ready to board and stuff. And I'm going, I don't think so. Minutes before the flight's supposed to board, he gets on the thing and says, we can't find the flight attendants, so the boarding's going to be delayed. I know that was a prevarication, by the way, because what was really going on was there were storms in Boston, and that's why Flighty knew. And I don't know why the guy at the desk made up a story about not being able to find the flight attendants.
It should be the other way around. They usually do it the other way around, so they don't
storm instead of
cover your hotel bill.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe that was the problem, but the flight attendants knew that the flight wasn't going to leave, so they didn't show
they
up.
Just weren't there.
They're going, we know, we got an hour. Anyway, Flighty, it's an app only on iOS, weirdly. But it is a great app, and now with macOS Sonoma, I have a Flighty widget on my desktop.
And it's so nice having the little widget that pops up for live activity as well.
Yeah.
Whenever we were in Denver, I was letting everybody else know, our terminal is, our gate changed.
It's fantastic.
This is happening. This is happening.
You know it before anybody does.
Yep.
Before they announce it, before anything. If you fly a lot, you'd have to fly a lot to justify. What is it? It's not cheap.
$50.
Yeah.
I think it's $50.
$50 a year. But so you'd have to fly a lot to make it worthwhile. But if you fly once a month or more, this thing is a lifesaver. I know when my next flight is. It shows you what the equipment's going to be, what time it's going to leave, everything.
Definitely.
And
they'll tell you if the equipment changes, which is important because sometimes the airlines swap out the aircraft, and that might make your seat change.
They even have
if you like certain seats like I do, you want to jump on it ASAP.
They have an Apple Watch app which shows your progress, how much longer the flight's going to be, and it has a little map of the flight. This is an app for.
Great. I'm glad
it's
you
even
like it.
great for. They have like a section where you can track your friends' flights, and so there've been a few times when my mom came to visit.
You could send people a flight.
You can send people a flight, and then I could also be aware. Okay, I'm picking up from the airport. Oh, your gate's changed, so I know to not get you at this gate, but to get you there, or whatever it happens to be. So it's great for tracking other people's flights as well.
Right.
Favorite airport, Johnny?
Oh, favorite airport in the U.S. or internationally?
Either.
Internationally, Singapore. I mean, you can't beat Changi.
Oh, that thing, that's like a place you could go visit. You could make that the destination and just visit. Yeah.
Definitely. Which is why it wins Airport of the Year every year. I mean,
it's beautiful. Yeah.
But in the U.S., I love the new LAX international terminal, and I also love Detroit, their new airport. what else? And LaGuardia, actually, some of the new LaGuardia terminals are amazing.
Worst
you have
airport.
to walk a ton.
Ooh, yeah.
Everybody
worse.
agrees it's Newark. Yes?
Yeah.
JFK's
Newark's
not
pretty
great
bad.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, Newark's pretty bad.
Yeah.
We were just in Newark actually, multiple times this summer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's the worst, but it's pretty bad.
JD Power says Minneapolis St. Paul's number 1, SFO's number 2. It really does depend on terminal.
As worst?
Yeah.
Or?
As best.
Oh.
SFO has
SFO,
some great terminals and some not
The
so
Harvey
good
Milk
terminals.
Terminal is awesome.
Oh, the milk terminal, that's where we flew into and out of, is the brand new terminal.
Beautiful.
It's amazing. Yeah, they even have, and you would like it, a restaurant called Little Chihuahua.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
Johnny
Actually,
Jet.
that JD survey, by the way, JD Power survey, it actually gone up the people's what's the word they used? It's because of the
Satisfaction.
food. Satisfaction. Thank you. Because of the food. And one thing the airports have done, which is smart, is that they've had local food eateries come into their airports.
I have to say, it's a huge difference.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
In
And
Boston,
shops.
I had a Mark Wahlburger. JohnnyJet.com is his website. He's got free newsletters there. He's got all sorts of free services. Follow him also on Instagram and X and everywhere else, all the social networks at Johnny Jet. JJ, always a
you guys
pleasure.
Have a great month.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Take care.
Safe travels.
See you
It's
later.
always fun
Thank you.
talking travel, isn't it? Yeah, the Mark Wahlburger, the $78 hamburger.
Was it really?
No.
Oh.
But you did see David Brooks, the New York Times columnist, saying,
Oh, yeah.
was it on Instagram, his picture of his hamburger and fries and bourbon, and he says, "This is what's wrong with America.
Yeah.
$78." But people figured out is that burger is only $8, the fries are $4. That bourbon, that was probably the 5th in a series. That's where you get the $78.
Yes.
It was all
That's goofy.
all alcohol. I don't drink, so I'm not worried about it. Let's see. We got a few more minutes on the show.
Do you want to wrap it up with just a quick email, maybe?
Dealer's choice. Email. All right. Email.
The sound of
All right,
email.
Leo, don't forget, you guys stretch the arm a little bit,
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Lisa and I played a little football catch in Green Bay.
Fun.
We're both walking around with splits on our arms. It's if you don't throw a lot, you get sore very quickly. Google Podcast demise from Nathan. Hi, Nathan.
Hello, Nathan.
What's NK? Oh, maybe that's his initials. Okay. With the announcement that Google will be rolling their podcast product into YouTube Music. By the way, not thrilled about this. Do you have any suggestions for your favorite alternative podcast product? I'm an Android user, so that's been my go-to for the last 5 to 6 years. I don't particularly like the YouTube platform, hence my desire to switch to something new. Yeah, I use YouTube Music, and I hate it that they're mixing. Everybody does this now,
Spotify,
mixing
yeah.
podcasts. Spotify does it too. In with the music. I want music. If I want podcasts, I'll use a podcast app. What do you recommend?
Pocket Casts on Android. It's the same app that I use on iOS, Pocket Casts. What's great about it is you can use it on the web if you want to. I mean, it is a multi-platform application.
And when you have an account, which is free, and sign in,
You can
all
sync-
your platforms have the same podcast.
all of it syncs. The play, stop, the play and pause are synced as well. It's a great app, and I don't have another recommendation. I think it's fantastic.
No, me too. I prefer it over iTunes. I prefer it over Google Podcasts. There are some others. If you're only audio and your iOS, of course, Overcast is very popular because that's Marco Arment's app, and it's a great app. It's very beautiful, very nicely done, great UI. Pocket Cast UI, maybe not the best in the world, but it works, and once you get used to it, it's fantastic. It's an interesting story. They were independent, purchased by Public Radio. Public Radio, for some reason, said enough and sold it off. And now I think they're
Automatic.
back into being...
I think Automatic owns them. The folks who
Automatic.
make WordPress and
Okay, so they're not independent. They're owned by the WordPress folks. That's actually the best possible outcome because they really are very, very good, and they understand open source and they understand free, and so good.
Yeah, and from what I've heard from the folks at Pocket Casts, it's a great pairing
Thank you.
with Automatic. Yeah.
So glad to hear that. That's wonderful. Yeah. I think for the foreseeable future, this is going to be the choice. We know that the number one. Correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick. If you're watching, Patrick Delahanty, our engineer, knows the number one way people download our shows, I believe, is still iTunes. But it's gotten to be it used to be 80%. It's gotten to be a smaller and smaller fraction of the audience. I think Pocket Casts, if it's not number one, is a very close number two now. So I know many of you also use it. So subscribe to Ask the Tech Guys in your Pocket Cast. Just search for Ask the Tech Guys or go to techguylabs.com. That's our website. You'll get our show notes there. Soon to be new and improved. Have we started using Claude for the show notes yet? Soon to be Claudified.
Oh, for the transcripts?
Yeah, where are the show notes?
Oh, no. So we're using Claude to help supplement our show notes.
Yes, so you are.
Yeah. We're supplementing it.
Oh, a human will, of course, review all of Claude's suggestions.
And then Claude will provide the vitamin C and other supplements.
This is actually really impressive. What we've started doing for most of our shows, I think eventually all of our shows, we do have transcripts created by Podium. Those are AI also created, I think. And then we have Claude, which is the AI from Anthropic, go through it and summarize it, and that becomes our show note partner.
Yes, and we're also...
I don't want to put John out of work or anything.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's supplementing our show notes. And
okay.
Still,
do you feel like it's doing a good job?
It's definitely good in some aspects.
It can't collect all those beautiful links that we have during the show.
No.
So we have to add the links.
Yeah, we're still adding links. Like I said, it's helping us to curate our show notes, and we're making edits as necessary.
Nice.
Yes.
So the way the show notes work, if you go to techguylabs.com, each show has a page dedicated to it. This is last week's show, 1993. There's a text-based bullet-pointed list of things we talked about, and there's a link to the transcript there. That takes a few days to get up, of course. But then we actually have clickable links to everything that we talked about. So we separate those out for historic reasons, I think. But that's the show notes. They're at techguylabs.com. You'll note when you're there, by the way, there's also a link to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Pocket Casts. So the easiest way to subscribe, click the Pocket Cast link, and it'll automatically populate that. We also have RSS for everything else, and there's a link to our YouTube channel dedicated to Ask the Tech Guys. If you want to ask a question live on the show, we're live every Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. Now, we are currently still in summertime. We will be till the weekend after Halloween. So it's 1800 UTC. That will change the weekend after Halloween. But right now, 1800 UTC to watch live. And do watch live if you can. Otherwise, of course, it's a podcast. So you can subscribe, download, and listen at your leisure. You catch a lot of Micah Sargent. He is on iOS Today every Tuesday morning. He is on Tech News Weekly every Thursday. And he does Hands on Macintosh for our club members.
Those also publish on Thursdays,
On Thursdays. And then, of course, this show on Sundays. Would you like to do another show? Because I have some ideas.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that after.
I want to use Micah till he's like shriveled up like a raisin. Just want
to shrink me down.
Get all the juice out of Micah while we can. We thank you for being here. I'm Leo Laporte. You catch me from time to time on the shows. I will be here for the next couple of weeks. Then I'm going to go back east. And you're going to have to do this. I'm going to do the shows from Moms. Okay. We got it all set up. I'm going to do the show from Moms. That'll be a lot of fun. The week of October 16th. And what else do we have to tell people?
I mean, you've done everything. Again, call us during the week, 888-724-2884. Emails. You don't just have to send text. You can send us video, or audio.
That's
atg@twit.tv.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your questions. They help us do this show every week, and we love being able to help you out with what you've got.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. This Week in Tech coming up next if you're watching live. And we will see you all next week on Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Leo Laporte.
And I'm Micah Sargent.
Have a great Geek Week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I join with my co-host to bring you This Week in Space, the latest and greatest news from the final frontier. We talk to NASA chiefs, space scientists, engineers, educators, and artists, and sometimes we just shoot the breeze over what's hot and what's not in space, books, and TV. And we do it all for you, our fellow true believers. So whether you're an armchair adventurer or waiting for your turn to grab a slot in Elon's Mars rocket, join us on This Week in Space and be part of the greatest adventure of all time.